still waiting on my jersey, and it sucks because I've been trying to get it for months, and now it's going to be delayed longer. The guy, so long story short, you know how the jerseys are changing over, right?
No, not exactly.
So I could have this slightly wrong, but basically it was what, Reebok who owned the jerseys, and then Reebok was purchased by, or RBK was purchased by CCM, I think, and then CCM either sold out or was purchased by Adidas. So Adidas owns the jersey rights right now, and last year was the last year of RBK. This year was the last year of CCM, and then next year will be Adidas. So in 3 consecutive years, there's going to be almost entirely different jerseys.
Yeah,
So there's going to be
brutal.
so many different ones available. So many a lot of the manufacturers are kind of holding off to see the demand and whatnot. Sorry, to see like when they can bring new ones in. So long story short, well, long story long, I guess. Arizona Coyotes. Sorry, I'm staring at a photo of Kessel. Why they'd have a photo of Kessel and not Hall in their jersey, I don't know. But
Not who? Hall?
Taylor Hall, yeah. But
where are you looking
I
for? Just Google?
well, I tried to get it online, and you can get it online because I want to get it customized with my name. So
yeah, the old school Fox one, right?
Yeah. So I'm waiting for that, but they said that it won't be available till April. And then I'm assuming now there's either going to be, one of two things will happen. Either because of Taylor Hall, now these jerseys, they'll make a whole new round of them and they'll be available in a couple weeks, which will be fantastic. I can get it. Or they're just not going to make any more and we'll have to wait until Adidas releases their version, which sucks.
Why is it sold out as the other one?
They haven't made them. You can't get them.
Okay, but you can't get the old ones.
You can't even get it from Adidas website.
Okay.
Who sells the new ones before they're releasing them, or like I might have some of that mixed up, but basically that's like the situation, how they've like kind of hopped around, and next year's going to be new jerseys again, and everyone's wondering if they're going to have the Adidas stripe. Rumor had it they're going to have those 3 Adidas ribbons down underneath the arm.
So half the reason I like Adidas is their stripes.
Yeah. Well, I can give a shout out here. There's a website called Icethetics, ICETHETICS.com. That's my place where I go for all my news on jerseys and like updates on information.
Okay.
So
that's like the jersey news source?
Basically, yeah. There's a lot of concepts on there, though, so you have to really read and see if it's a concept or if it's real. But they do have both of them in there. So, like, are you going there right now?
Yeah.
So there's like
the .co you said, right?
Type in .com,
yeah.
But yeah. One of the first ones here talking about the new look LA jerseys from next year, which is the stadium jersey, which I have yet to see. I just see it here for the first time. I don't like it. There's Colorado jerseys leaked here. I don't really like those. Dallas is meh. The Predators is meh. If they're real. And then some up and down the right side, there's some concepts. But basically that's where I go to see any news and stuff, or Jersey Watch. You can see certain things. But that's where I read that information, that there's different like ownerships of the jerseys and whatnot.
I like this one Dallas one that's green, black, and white. Kind of looks
I'm okay with it, but
they're trying to play off the Texas flag. That's why.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
it's all right.
Which I mean, for people in Dallas, or like if you like it, like it's cool. It's just not quite my thing. And like somebody gave me one, I'd rock it, but like I would never go buy one myself.
True that.
I like it better than the Colorado one above it, although that just looks like a T-shirt. But yeah. So that's what's going on with jerseys.
Do you want to today just like, I think we should just lead off with the top story, which I think we all know. We haven't really discussed it too much. And then we can maybe hit some of the Canadian teams. I got some interesting stats to rhyme off that I'm sure you might know about, but maybe you don't. And
Probably not.
And then we can talk Leafs, because we always got to talk Leafs.
And then some fantasy.
And then we can, talk about the fantasy discussions, we'll call it. And potential trades and where everyone's sitting. We can call that the overdrive. We'll see where we started. We probably started 5 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Talking jerseys, and we'll see how long it goes. So
cool.
So top story: Taylor Hall to the Coyotes.
I think the Coyotes did well.
I think so too.
I don't think New Jersey did well. I don't. I don't think they did poorly.
They might not have been able to do any better, though.
Done better.
You think they could have got better?
I don't know. Nobody knows, right? We weren't part of the conversation, but if there was a possibility to maybe get 2 premier pieces instead of 5 secondary pieces, I probably would have gone for that type of trade. But maybe that wasn't available. So if that's not the case, then what I say
maybe this is the Devils admitting that they're 5 years away now. Don't you think?
I don't think anyone's 5 years away anymore. It's that whole statement is 3 years now.
3 years?
Look at everybody turn. It's 3 years. Yeah. Unless you have, it's 3 years to turn a team around. Unless you have contracts that you have to just wait to expire. That's the only circumstance where it takes 4 or 5 years. Because usually it takes a year or two for contracts to kind of just die off.
Do you believe you need a level 1 superstar in the NHL to be good?
You either have to have one extreme or the other. You either have to have a team of a bunch of guys that at any point whoever gets hurt or gets cold, you can swap them in and out and just ride the hot hand and just have no weakness.
The Patriots,
or you have to have studs. Yeah. So I don't think. Obviously there's outliers and there's ways to kind of complement parts of both. But I'm not really a big believer where you can kind of do a little bit of multiple strategies. Obviously, you can complement it with certain things, but I think you kind of either got to be one extreme or the other.
Do you think the Coyotes are going to make another move now before the trade deadline? They might make a small move, but I'm talking something significant. I can't really see what they would do unless there's an injury of some sort.
It depends because I don't watch enough of their games to be completely honest to give my take on where I think a hole is. I don't know what they really need or what they could possibly want. So from that angle, I don't know. But what I do know is what I found interesting in the deal was that they ate half of Taylor Hall's deal.
Yeah.
Now I
bought a bunch of players.
Yeah, and if it was a case where Arizona could not have done the deal unless they did that because of financial reasons, then no, that was their thing, and they're going to hope that this is their magic season and try and build off that moving forward. Mm-hmm. If they did that so that they're still – so they either could have taken on the full contract and that's it, or now they took on this and it still gives them, let's say, $4 million. That gives them up to about a $5 3/4 million cap player that you can pick up at the deadline for that.
Yeah, I was going to ask, do they get cap relief by having them keep half?
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't know.
Do? You can eat up to half of a deal.
So they only half of Taylor Hall's rest of the season, what he's being paid, is being absorbed by the Coyotes.
Half of his paychecks are coming from.
No, I get that. I just didn't know if it so that he effectively affects New Jersey's cap as well then.
Yep.
Okay.
So that was a big thing of why the Leafs picked up Barry, because Barry's contract at, I don't remember what it was. I want to say 4. Actually, I have the Leafs up here. What does he get? 2.75 times 2. So would it be 5.25?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, so 5.25, 5.50, whatever. So Colorado's paying 2.75 right now for Barry to play for the Leafs.
Okay.
So that was part of the deal that a lot of people overlook also. Not to get into the Leafs too much here, but when people look at that trade, and at the time when everyone was mad and it's it's for Tyson Barrie, it's yeah, but we can only afford a B player, but we got an A player because they ate part of the contract. So
yeah, that's often overlooked in the strategy of the cap. Like often overlooked by all fan bases. That's why that goes to what I was talking about with you earlier. Why I don't think Jarry gets traded, because his contract's way too good.
But here's the thing that you have to consider about Jarry, and like I have to just play devil's advocate.
Yeah, no,
he's a guy who's played a lot of AHL hockey. He's a very seasoned guy. He's now in the NHL. The Penguins signed DeSmith to be their backup, and Jarry got the door open and he jumped right through it.
Same
and
with
he's
2
playing,
years ago.
He realistically, if he loves Pittsburgh, if he wants to be there, he's playing for his livelihood. He's playing to stay in the city he wants to be in. He's playing to stay in the NHL, and he's playing to try and show that Pittsburgh, like, keep me and move DeSmith. Don't trade me. I honestly feel if Jarry gets moved, he'll kind of just not fizzle, but I think he'll just settle into like a Mrazek type guy.
Yeah.
At best. I don't think I just he's an NHL goalie for me. There's a lot of goalies that are NHL goalies, 100%. They should be in the NHL and they can make an impact for a week, for 4 games, for a game, for 10 games, 15 games. Maybe they have a magical season or a half season, whatever. But there's a lot of goalies who, over the course of 3 or 4 years, will just cycle through. And another team will find somebody cheaper or somebody else who they think might be better. And other teams might either take a chance or they end up playing in Europe's second tier or KHL or AHL. And then they just become part of the pond, let's call it.
Don't get me wrong. Like, I think that the Penguins are going to move a goalie. I don't think it's Jarry.
I think it would be a mistake for them to move Jarry. I think that it's a really nice tandem to have Jarry and Murray.
They have a good GM that doesn't tend to make bad trades.
Yeah. I mean, he has a couple on his record, but who doesn't?
Will. Yeah.
Honestly, I think one of the worst trades ever that I can remember off the top of my head was between Washington and Nashville. Martin Erat for Philip Forsberg. There was, I think, a secondary piece in there, but I don't remember it. But it was basically that, which Erat was out of the NHL the next year, and Forsberg is a stud.
Forsberg, stud.
He's not a star, but he's definitely a stud plus. Maybe he's a star. Maybe he's a quiet star, but he's not
Nashville.
Yeah, exactly. He's one of his team's stars. But to circle back to the Taylor Hall question, though, I think it was fantastic for them. I think that for Arizona, it's exactly what they need, even if they don't even talk a contract with him and they make it 2 or 3 rounds and they become a storyline that everybody talks about. That's a success for them.
For sure, definitely. I think they have potential to re-sign him.
I think they have to go at least 2 rounds for him to take them serious. If they go on a magical run and he goes to the conference final or further, I think they do have a legitimate shot at maybe.
I think they have
maybe not long term, but a couple of years maybe.
They just have a chance, like off the ice, to wow him because he has been in 2 dysfunctional organizations for 10 years. So just by from his perspective, 3 days ago he was a Devil, and then all of a sudden he's a Coyote and he's playing in a game already. Just the quickness, and if they're professional off the ice, like so much so, and then they also back it up by winning, I think just that he'll be like, wow, this.
But you know what's funny to me?
Doesn't even want to risk taking a chance that he's back in a shitty situation.
Yeah, that's true. But it's funny to me because I honestly would say Arizona's the New Jersey of the West.
Why is that?
Like there's just, to me, a lot of correlations between them just in terms of like their belief systems and how they've liked to kind of draft and scout and how they've kind of liked to build their teams. Like maybe not necessarily in the last 2 or 3 years, but like if you look at the Devils from like maybe 4 or 5 years ago to about 10 or 12 years ago, compared to the Coyotes from maybe about 7 years ago to about 2 years ago, I think that there's a lot of like comparables a lot of lines that could connect. I don't know. Just to me, it just seems like that.
Yeah, I kind of follow them, and like with this, they got a new owner this year.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's changed a lot because they traded for Kessel.
Yeah,
which I think it was good. They needed that, and I don't know. It seems like there's a new sense around them. And last year they ended the season very strong, and they've always seemed to underperform a little bit before that. So.
Yeah. But the thing is like I can't really comment further beyond the statement, but like it depends on the lifestyle. If you're a type of person that likes the lifestyle of Arizona, again, I don't know what it's like, but that lifestyle that's in Arizona versus I've heard a lot of talk that the favorite to land haul is Calgary because he's from there and like he just wants to be in that area with family and stuff. So like it's two different feelings or two different scenarios, right? So it really depends on what he wants.
Yeah.
Maybe he does want a quiet lifestyle and then come home for family in the offseason. Maybe that's the third option that makes him
Calgary's kind of shitty
blur the lines
during the winter, so it's not like it's cold.
Yeah, and there's rumors that if Calgary lands him, they've got to move one of the other guys, which would be either Lindholm or Gaudreau or whatever, which they're a good team now, but if you move another piece and then you're coming in, isn't it a somewhat lateral move in that sense?
Yeah.
And now you got Lucic. Like, if there's any way they could get rid of Lucic, but
everyone keeps trying to pass Lucic around. He's a hot potato.
He's stuck now. I don't see him going anywhere. He's in like one of the 4 or 5 cities that cherish those type of guys.
Fair enough.
Beyond the cap, I think there's about 5 teams who would be like, yeah, his cap sucks, but like watching him run around like a freight train every night, at least it's something. You know what I mean? Like Toronto would be a team like that if we didn't have other elite players. Like if we didn't have one of our elite players and there was like a spot for it, people would want like Jamie Benn or Corey Perry or a guy like that. Like Lucic. Somebody, I mean, I know those guys aren't really the same player or tier of player, but they all kind of have the same similar mold.
Where do you want to start with some of these Canadian teams? Do you want to go west to east?
Yeah, let's do that.
Let's do it. So we'll start with the Canucks, who played the Habs last night, lost 3-1 at home. And I'll be honest with you, the fans out here, they're worried about this Canucks team. Yeah, they are. They're starting to see that they're not going to make the playoffs at this rate. They're struggling.
Are you worried?
Yeah, I would say there's a lot. There's a lot on the line these next 15 games for them. They just started a 5-game homestand, where the talk before yesterday's game was the first one, and the talk before that game was that they have to go 4-1, 3-1-1, like, which makes sense.
Yeah.
But now they started off their 0-1, and they played the Habs, which needs to be a beatable team if they're going to compete into the playoffs.
Yeah. Yeah. But
again,
did Price steal the game? Did you watch? I didn't
watch the game, no.
Okay. I mean, there's always an asterisk, right? Like if Price had a Price game, then
I feel like that
disqualifies.
I didn't hear that though, and I listened. Okay. I have my ear to the beat per se.
Yeah, I don't. So I mean, let's go with that.
They just said that like they played poorly.
Yeah,
and they were also saying there was more Habs fans in the stadium than there were Leafs fans when the Leafs came a week ago.
Okay.
Don't know if that means anything. We're always comparing ourselves to those two teams.
Yeah. To Montreal and Toronto?
Yes.
Isn't that kind of unfair?
I think so, yeah.
Like, not. I mean, calling it what it is, right? Like, if that's the expectation, you'll always fall short. Just because you're comparing, like, I can understand that you want to someday maybe like achieve that level or like be in that pool, but like with the amount of resources and money and like just spread those teams have in different parts of the world, just scouting alone, is a difference maker.
Totally agree. Those two teams are like on the level, like in baseball, like Yankees, Red Sox.
Yeah, and you're the Blue Jays,
Dodgers,
or Orioles.
Yeah, exactly. So sometimes I don't understand that perspective, but maybe they're just catering to the average sports fan out there. But
like my question with Vancouver is like obviously they understood that they were kind of too good to be bad, so they tried to build a team that was just deep. And I do agree that I think they could be a scary team if they make the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
But like,
totally.
How many game breakers do you have? 3, 4, 3.5 if you count Hughes. Like Hughes is almost there.
Are you counting Markstrom? Because I would consider him a game breaker.
I can't comment. I haven't watched enough. I know his potential was always really, really high, and it always took so long to get there. And I've understood he's been really good over the last couple of years.
He steals games. Carolina, when we played them, Carolina was here about a week and a half ago. We won 1-0 in overtime.
Wow.
And he stopped 46 shots.
Oh, shit. That's good.
Something crazy, yeah. And Dylan sat him on the bench, and I LOL'd. So...
LOL.
He picked him up and didn't start him. It was the oddest fucking thing.
Maybe he missed the start time.
Possible.
Maybe he picked him up at 7:01 for a 7 o'clock start, and he couldn't get him in the starting lineup.
Possible. Would have
Maybe
been
it was
10.
locked.
All right,
that would have been dumb.
So I think we covered Vancouver. They're struggling a little bit, but I think they can turn it around. It's not like they got to turn it around though, because they are
better. The Central's better, right? Is the Central going to get the wild card? I know we're not going to, or I know we're going to do the standings later, but
we always talk about this, and I definitely think the Pacific gets 4-4 or 5-4 Pacific.
You think that the Pacific's going to get multiple or get wild cards?
At least one, like no doubt about them getting one.
Okay, so if we say let's just go under that anyways, because let's average out that one from each division will make it. Because most years that will come true. It won't always, but so if that's the case, Vancouver has to beat Calgary, Edmonton, San Jose, Vegas. They've got to be better than 2 or 3 of those teams.
Yep.
Are they clearly better?
No.
I honestly feel like it's a toss-up.
That's what it is. It is a toss-up. It's a toss-up between Edmonton and them. And like Sharks at this point, Sharks, Calgary, Vegas. It's a toss up between all those teams. There's 6 teams that it's a toss up, but they're at the bottom edge of it, and they aren't catching the Coyotes. I don't think.
So what do we think on Calgary and Edmonton then? What's going on there?
Edmonton, they just don't have much outside of their stars. That's what I see. I don't. No, if you see
are the red lights flashing? Are the bells going off in Edmonton? Do you think
like the warning signs?
Yeah,
I gotta think that by now they're never comfortable based on how these past 3 seasons have been. I would assume the fans. I don't really have my ear to be on the fans there. Guess I don't. I need to maybe follow some more Edmonton motherfuckers, but
I just feel like. Edmonton's kind of, I mean, I'm not a car guy, so this might not be a great analogy, but like I find like Edmonton's just seems to be like a car that's just running really, really hot. And it's only a matter of time until things start failing and it just kind of falls apart and things start going wrong and these issues start happening and whatever. And it's just kind of like, haven't they kind of been playing their best hockey? Haven't they kind of been relying on their studs? Haven't they been kind of overusing them all? And we're not into the meat of the season, and we're not into the part of the season where it gets into really tough, grindy hockey where all the injuries and the little injuries start to add up. I'm really concerned. Like, I think they're playing at a level of almost a 9 out of 10, and they're in the toss-up discussion. So, like, I don't know.
I think they're in the toss-up
really
discussion
concerned.
too, and it's all going to come down to what happens with McDavid and Draisaitl this season. Like
they could carry them into the playoffs
really
by all
could.
means,
Definitely
but that's what's going to do it.
That's what it's going to take. Yes,
but it's also going to take 2 other teams. Just like it would also take like San Jose just not getting it done this season. It would also take Vancouver fizzling off, and it would also take like, let's say, Calgary not taking off and them just duking it down to the last like couple games. Like it's gonna take a battle to get in, and then I don't like against any team that makes the playoffs at that point. I would put them as like the favorite to be out fastest in the playoffs. It will happen.
Yeah, I would. That's kind of how I see it exactly.
And it's also hard to like be in gear for that long and be like killing it and then take a week off and then get going again. Like we see it every year. The first playoff game of most series is usually either like a high flying goals all over the place, people taking runs at guys, just wild hockey. And then in second period, third period, game 2, then you start to get settling into your games. Game 3, 4 is when the physicality and the hatred and whatever starts building up. And then game 5, 6, 7 are the beauts.
Yeah, for Edmonton to take a round, they're going to have to open up 2-0.
And they're going to need like Koskinen or probably Koskinen to just go crazy. But that's the thing with all these teams with the platoon goalies. Like, you don't know. One goalie just doesn't have it for 2-3 games. The other goalie does. And then all of a sudden they switch. I mean, look at Anaheim back in the day when they had Jaguar and who was the other goalie they had?
Not Fury, right?
No, I don't remember who they had. It's escaping my head right now. But
Hiller?
Yes. So, I mean, you never know, right? So a lot of teams have had that platoon goalie situation, and a lot of times it's a spark. I mean, knowing you have 2 guys who can play, sometimes it takes a spark like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But
and with Calgary, like they're kind of different from Edmonton in that they definitely have more depth, at least in their skaters. Maybe not goal, but
so in their last 10, Calgary's 7-2-1, but they're on a 2-game losing streak. So they went 7-0-1 in their last 8 games before that.
Yeah, that was right when they did the coaching change.
Yes, exactly. And if you look at the last 10 for Arizona, Vegas, Edmonton, Calgary, for those 4 teams, Edmonton's the only one with a above 500 record in their last 10. So, I mean, I think Calgary's on the way up is, I guess, what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, that's the trend right now, at least.
Yeah. Their differential was terrible, and now it's getting better. I think there's a lot of settling in for that team, and I think we're going to start seeing when Giordano has a good season, that team clicks. And, like, not that he's having a bad season, but what I can always tell is when I watch SportsCenter, and so it's like, Giordano, and it's like, big block shot, Giordano, and a blast from the point, Giordano. Like, not necessarily that he's producing, but you just when you hear the name over and over and over again, it stands out, right? So,
totally.
I mean, and I've watched a couple of their games, and like I've heard it a bit, but it hasn't been to the level it's been a couple times over the last couple of years. So, I mean, I think he's going to heat up a little bit. Goudreau's going to heat up, I think, and I think that line's going to get going, and I think that they're going to definitely be trending in the right direction for Calgary. Yeah,
agreed on that one. I want to move on to this team because they continue to blow my mind this
Winnipeg
season. Yeah, Winnipeg, what the hell? There's like, if we'll just kick off right from the start with looking at their last 10. 6-3-1. So they're trending up still, but to me it's crazy. I did not see them being here.
I don't get it, but look at Vegas last year. We saw it last year. Everyone discounted them. They said they weren't going to be good enough, and they were fine. We saw it last year. Why are we so surprised again? Everyone is.
I'm starting to re-look at it as like, why am I so surprised? I get it. They lost Byfuglien, but they still have a star-studded lineup.
I mean, they were one of the teams like the Leafs that drafted during that period really well. Mm-hmm. And they were one of the teams that hoarded all their prospects. Go look at all the trade history. I think Winnipeg, I'm going off the top of my head from like 2 years ago, but I think they said Winnipeg traded a total of like 4 or 5 players and like 6 picks, including pick for pick trades at the drafts over the course of like 4 years. for 5 years. Something where I was like, whoa, that's weird.
And this just goes to a conversation we're having in our fantasy league about valuing defensemen. Maybe everybody just overvalued a defenseman in this case and undervalued all these forwards they have. Wheeler, Ehlers, Scheifele, all those guys. They go deep. They go 4 solid centers. Like, they're a deep squad. So
they also shoot a lot too, which helps aid more goals, which helps fix a bit of mistakes and stuff. But yeah.
Mm-hmm. And Hellebuck is... Oh, go ahead.
My God. I don't get it. But what I was going to say is, like, NHL defensemen can skate the puck. They can make plays. So if you have a bunch of guys who can make plays or a bunch of guys who can just make plays a little bit better, what's the difference? Like, the variance between that is maybe just being masked by these forwards having good seasons or Hellebuck having a really good season, you know? Could also be like an Edmonton situation where they could collapse. Everything could collapse all of a sudden. But I want to bring this up to Byfuglien. Does this make it more or less likely he returns?
I heard something today that he was looking for Winnipeg to pay for his rehab.
He was starting rehab, and he was trying. Yeah, he was. They've started discussions on how they're gonna handle it.
Yeah. So,
but he started rehab, so he's on the process.
I say
recovery.
No, he doesn't play for Winnipeg, but
I think if he does, he comes back and he's a forward.
Third line forward.
If it was me, at least until the playoffs, to get him up to speed. He's a big guy. If he has foot surgery, he might be slow. You can mask that. Like, look at Lucic. Like, he'd be no different than Lucic, right?
Yeah.
So, like, you could deal with that on the 4th line wing, and he could just be a nuisance
just
and get in
depth.
there.
Yeah, that's. And
then, I mean, he could start testing his ankle on some hits, get in there and grind some guys, and then once he starts feeling comfortable and he gets up to speed, last few weeks or couple weeks or even just to start the playoffs, okay, now he's going back on defense and we're our team again. Maybe. I don't know, but
always stays
just a way to look at it.
Yeah.
Maybe. Just a way to look at it, right?
Interesting.
I've actually been thinking, I said the same thing to Nick the other day about Brent Burns. I haven't been watching San Jose's game. I don't know what their problem is other than if it's just goaltending.
It's a lot of goaltending. I watched them yesterday. Yeah.
Are they getting lots of scoring chances? Are they good up front? Are they deep up front? Like, I know they have a lot of good forwards, but like, is it working up front? Or
I think so. They score. They must score.
See, goals for. Yeah, they have 98 goals for.
What's the average?
Hold on. League goals for. Average would be like 95.
Yeah, so they're above average or average. We'll say average for argument's sake. They're average in goal scoring, yet they're minus. They have the worst, next to Detroit, the worst plus or minus. Or I guess New Jersey's in there too.
They're 21st. They're 21st for goal for.
Oh, that's not that great, but still.
Yeah. But I mean, if they just want to spark, like, not full time. I mean, just do it for a couple of games. Throw Brent Burns up there and just be like, go be a fucking annoying little dickhead. Seriously, if you put him and Kane up there and for 2 or 3 games, you'd be like, just don't get suspended. Go run wild for 3 games. That could spark the team. Maybe at this point they need something.
If they have the depth of defensemen, I could see doing it.
They need to do something because with the pick that they moved and the fact that they've locked in all these contracts, I'm going to even say something crazy. Ilya Kovulchuk's going to San Jose.
Why?
Gut feel. I can see his name on a jersey. That's pretty much it.
You just see it in front of you. No,
like I've referred to before, again. I can just see things sometimes. Really? That's your call?
No, I guess he's league minimum, isn't he?
Yep, he'd be $500,000 the rest of the way.
How many years is that? Or just this year?
What?
Just this year?
It would just be for the rest of the year. Unless somebody gave him a 2-year deal, which, if that's the case, people need to be checked. But honestly, I feel like...
I just don't think he would. Why would he play for that? I don't know.
He's from what I'm hearing is he said he wants to play. He wants to prove he can still play. So he'll take the minimum to prove he can play. And then he'll probably want money in the summer. at 38. But just to go through the quick teams on teams that I think actually could use him and might actually reach out to see what level of interest might be there. Could potentially be Columbus, Dallas, Chicago, Islanders, Luke Connection, San Jose, Arizona.
Yeah.
Edmonton, because why the hell not? Buffalo.
Okay, you're making a lot of sense.
Carolina. Maybe Florida.
The roster
Probably not,
freeze,
but maybe.
The roster freeze is happening tonight, so
yeah, but that gives them time to talk. The two teams that fell out, and this was as of what's his name, Ray Ferrero. He was on TSN 1050 the other day, and he said that I think it was him, may not, but that's what they said was the first two teams that had almost deals in place with Kovulchuk were San Jose and Boston. They offered him 1-year deal at whatever the money was. LA started with the 1-year deal at a high amount of money, and no one was offering two-year deals. Boston and San Jose then came in and offered a 2-year deal. LA wanted him more, so they came and offered him a 3rd year, and the other 2-year deal. The other two teams wouldn't go 3, so he went to LA. So you got to think back then, those teams looked at it.
This is the 3rd year of him?
Yes.
No way.
Yeah.
I thought it was 2nd. Damn. So that's how it went down.
That's how it went down. I don't know that obviously firsthand myself, but it was on the radio by, I think it was Ferrer, it was somebody on TSN 1050, so it had some legitimacy to it.
Fair enough. Crazy.
But I mean, there's a handful of teams out there, like I said, I listed off 7 or 8 that could at least call and be like, what's your deal?
Yeah, and every team you named off, like I wasn't quick to be like, nah, not so sure about that.
Even on the 3rd line, 2nd power play unit, that's apparently where he thinks he can fit, is 3rd or 4th line, depending on the team.
And shootout
and
specialist.
And shootout and 2nd power play. When you look at it that way, there's probably a market for that. But is he a cancer? If you think he is, then stay away. But if you don't, or if you think he can legitimately help, or maybe you have a couple other Russians on your team, maybe, then
or
maybe that would work.
Like, is he kicking players? You probably don't want him. All right, let's move on to the next Canadian team.
Okay.
Bottom of the Eastern Conference. Ottawa Senators.
Senators.
I'm going to ask you, how many minutes of ice time did Thomas Chabot play yesterday against the Tampa Bay Lightning?
I don't know.
Take a guess.
Probably an insane amount if you're asking me.
Yeah.
Either an insane or no amount, which I didn't hear anything about him being benched like Kucherov. So probably about 24, 26 is average. So the game go into overtime?
It did, yeah.
34 minutes. 34 to 36 minutes.
Higher.
30. Did he eclipse 40?
No, 37-50. And he accumulated 4 shots. That's it. But he was out there for 37 minutes, 50 seconds. The game at half of overtime. So, more than half the game. Why are they doing that?
I don't know. Maybe they're trying to get him going. Maybe he just was going that night. The one thing that I kind of know about Chabot is he's kind of some people call him a robot, just because he can kind of just go and go and go and go. So maybe he was just on that night. He just felt good, and he said, Coach, just keep putting me out there. I can go. Sometimes guys are like that.
Do you think
not every night? But once in a
is
while,
this going to hurt him long term? How's he feeling today? I like when you go off in your I played hockey stories, so that's why I kind of wanted to ask you. 37 minutes at that kind of game, close game against the Lightning. How's your body feel?
I mean, your body doesn't feel great, but your body also does feel great because you're in it. Like, so like I right now I play pickup hockey. I run a pickup skate, and like when it comes to numbers, sometimes we have 20 guys, which means that you run 2 full lines. So I play defense, so that means that you have 4 defensemen. So it's 2 on, 2 off, 2 on, 2 off. So like it's a different flow than when a lot of times we have 3 defensemen.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like you're now playing 66% theoretically instead of 50%. And I find myself, I just don't quite get into games. Like I can't quite like engage the same. And like there's also just like pure number factor when you're on the ice. When you're on the ice more, you're gonna have the puck more, you're gonna block more, you're gonna shoot more, you're gonna have more opportunities, you're gonna take more penalties. Like things are just gonna happen, right? So like you feel more involved. You feel, even if you have a bad game and you're like, oh well, I still got 3 hits, or not in pickup, but you know what I mean. Like as an NHL player, I got 3 hits and a couple shots, and maybe I got an assist or made a couple nice plays. If you did that, you're more likely to do that when you play more or when you're on the ice. Where if you're on less and you make a couple dumb plays, all of a sudden now you look like a moron and you feel bad, and then you get tense, and then you start questioning your abilities, and it's not just naturally you're just playing. So like even that alone, I don't really like when there's that many defensemen. I find it immediately affects me, and I find that I feel like I just don't contribute to the same level, and it just kind of makes me not just slightly less engaged, if that makes any sense.
Totally.
But
that's all I had on Ottawa. So other than they suck, their power play sucks. They kind of suck.
They've got a good future. I mean, there's not much else to really talk about. They're not doing anything wrong. They just don't have a good team, and they're keeping a lot of their young guys down in the AHL, and they're kind of trying to do the right thing. So I'm not going to talk poorly about them. They seem to be on the right track. So I mean, I'm going to fucking hate it when they're playing the Leafs, but like, good on them.
They're definitely competitive. Like each night, they're like they leave it all out there for sure. Their team. But
Tkachuk also drags him into a lot of stuff too. Like that's the type of guy that like obviously that's why everybody likes that type of guy, because like I said on previous podcasts, even when it's a shitty game or one of those low chance games where really nothing happens, because every once in a while there will be a game where it's just puck here, there, it's just a boring, nothing happens, then bam, big huge hit, and then a fight. It's like, that's what I'm talking about. Did you see the fight? Did you see, like, it's something to grab onto, right? So, but when you're bad, it's even better. I want to go and watch him maybe fight or lay a big hit. If he scores a nice goal, sure, cool. Or if we win, that's just a bonus, right? So
sure.
But I did want to bring something up that wasn't Canadian teams, and I want to get your take on it.
Yeah.
I haven't heard anyone else talking about it, so that's why I kind of wanted to bring it up. I have brought it up in the past, but Shea Weber.
That's a Canadian team.
Well, I guess so, yeah. But where I'm coming from is Nashville angle. But if you are the general manager of Nashville and you have full control right now, you have 2 things to consider. Shea Weber's cap is coming back to me at some point. I don't know when he's going to retire. I hope he plays out the contract, but I think, what did we say? There's 6 more years left? 7 more years left?
Left?
Yeah, let me quickly check just to make sure I'm on this. My facts are right. So Weber's got, it still goes on past the end of the screen.
25, 26 is his last year, yeah.
So not including after this season, he has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more years at 7, 8, 5, 7. So just under $8 million for 7 more years. Sorry, 6 more years, 7 including this year. If you're the GM right now, how many years do you think until you get that cap back?
Is that how that deal works? If he retires, Nashville gets the cap?
If he has like a Hossa skin condition, then it doesn't.
A Hossa skin condition?
You don't get what I'm saying? You don't get that reference? Okay, so Marian Hossa.
Oh, Marian Hossa. Okay, yeah, I got it.
He didn't retire, but he had a skin condition, so he just sat out the last year of his contract, and then they got to move his salary to long-term injury instead of taking it on the cap. So like, unless they find some shenaniganery to fucking loophole this, which I'm sure there's probably some sort of loophole somewhere, but if they can find it, that's on them. But let's assume there's not. How many years is Shea Weber going to play? He's got 6 more years, and he's turning 35 this year. 3 more years beyond this year. So that leaves you with two years at $8 million cap. That's coming back to you as Nashville.
I don't get why.
Do you live with that? Because they signed an illegal contract. They circumvented the cap.
Oh.
So when they made those contracts illegal, and that's why Philadelphia did it. They said,
the
well,
thing, right?
Yeah, but Philly also came from a place where, like, this is the guy we wanted. Imagine Weber in Philly. He's, like, the perfect. Like, him and Trouba are, like, the 2 type of guys that Philly, like, craves, right?
Yeah.
So imagine, ignoring cap, imagine Weber in Philly. That's, like, a perfect fit for him. So anyways, they basically gave Nashville at the time an option of, like, he's your star player, keep him. But if you keep him, you get this contract that's going to burden you and kill you at the end of it.
Uh-huh.
Maybe you can trade it. Maybe you can't. Or you let him come to us, and then we'll deal with the consequences eventually, but then we get him for this amount of time. And it was during the era where they had all these other guys, right? Like the Giroux and everything. So, like, they would have been a really dynamite team even if they had a goalie on top of that. So, back to the $8 million. You're Nashville. You don't spend to the cap usually, or even if you are by that point, you got to take a hit of no player playing for you, but $8 million. Do you consider trading back for Shea Weber?
Because
so that you know what's happening, you know when you're going to have to deal with it, you know maybe you can entice him to play a couple more years even as a bottom pairing guy, or like sit on the bench.
I can see the benefits of doing it, but how do they do that? Like, will Shea Weber do it? Like,
that's what I'm thinking out loud. Like, is there a benefit? Would you want to do it? Like, it's just an interesting thing because it's one of the only contracts out there like that.
Yeah.
And as a GM, I would be almost nervous and be hesitant to make any other trades, being like, this is coming back to me. I don't know when. Could be next year. I don't like. What happens if Shea Weber breaks his ankle again and he just can't skate at the speed anymore? He can't turn. Like, I mean, I hope that doesn't happen. He's a hell of a player, and I'd miss watching him. But like, what if it happens? Right? Like, now Nashville's screwed for 6 more years at $8 million. Does that sink Nashville? Like, that's gonna hurt a team like Nashville, right?
I guess I'm not understanding why they have to eat that salary if he retires or gets injured.
Because they signed an illegal contract. So it's the penalty for signing an illegal contract.
How did they get away with signing it? Like, what made it illegal? Or was it legal and then now it's illegal?
I don't know exactly.
It's just this is just
I
the
did
way
know.
it is,
I just don't remember. Yeah, I did know. I just don't want to guess out of my head right now. I don't remember exactly.
This needs its own research done. I need to do this.
I've looked at a lot of the CBA and I've read it with my own eyes, some of it. Not that
with
it's
your own
hard
eyes.
to get or anything, but I'm just saying I've read some of the stuff like directly through the NHL one, and like, not that it's really hard to get or anything, but like some of the stuff like that, and like some of the other stuff that, like for example, I wanted to do an expansion list, so I wanted to look through it and see what the prior expansion rules were and the intricacies of like how many games you play in the AHL and if that actually counts as a professional contract, and if it's include, like last time they did a ratio, so like I think it was 2-1, so 2 AHL games equals 1 NHL game to delay clocks on guys so that they're not like available in expansion, so like things like that. So like I like to look at stuff like that for those kind of purposes, but I don't remember. I'll have to go back and look. But yeah, they signed an illegal contract. That was the penalty for it. I don't know if they knew it at the time or if they knew if they like matched the offer sheet, if that was going to be the penalty they'd have to deal with, or if it was something where afterwards, because I know they made them illegal. So maybe they said anyone who signed it, these are now all your penalties. I don't recall exactly, but yeah, it's something that from all I know, that they're going to have to deal with, unless there's some sort of loophole that they're going to take advantage of.
Okay.
But it's just an interesting thing I've been thinking about recently. If you were the GM, would you want to just ride by the seat of your pants and hope that eventually it doesn't come to you? But then if you commit to a bunch of people and he's like, Weber retires, and now you're like, I'm $8 million over the cap and I have a week to figure it out.
I can see the benefit for Nashville doing this, but I don't see the benefit for Montreal or Weber. Like, why do they give a fuck? They're not gonna go with this. And Nashville would have to give up a lot.
They could almost threaten Nashville.
Yeah, exactly. Nashville would have to give up so much that it becomes not even worth it anyway.
I think you have to start with one of Ekholm or Ellis, and then Turris, and then I think you have to add probably Tolvanen, and then probably a pick, and then I think you're probably in the right conversation, which is overpayment. But
you sometimes come up with the most crazy trade scenarios I've ever.
I'm just saying value-wise, value and cap-wise, like that would be the only way. Which, no, I'm not saying that it's a possible trade, but in terms of a potential framework, if you were forced to make a deal, cap-wise and stuff, that would be the only way that you could build a framework around it. So, like, that's how I look at certain trades. Like, when I'm breaking down possible trade destinations, is I look at the possible pieces, and if it just doesn't fit, it just doesn't fit. Or if it fits well, it fits well. Just certain things don't jive sometimes, you know?
Okay, I hear you. I hear you. All right, let's talk about our fanboy Leafs.
All right.
All right.
All right. It's calmed down.
Good. It should have.
There's an underlying panic, and I think that the whipping boys will remain the whipping boys, and that's the backup goalie. That's Cody Ceci. That's sometimes Frederick Gauthier, but with back-to-back goals, I think the fans are. With Frederick Gauthier specifically, I think people are starting to realize that he's just a gentle giant and he will never fight. He is a massive body.
Yeah.
He just, like, not that this matters, but like he basically, people have said he basically drinks water and lemonade. I don't think he eats dairy. I don't think he eats meat or something. Like he's very like environmental conscious and very like body conscious and like stuff like that. So he's just like a very, I almost want to say kind of like a hippie type, not hip. I don't really know how to classify it.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Type of person. I don't want to say person, but that type of being, people, if you will. So, yeah, exactly. I don't want to be like that.
He's a bunch of you people
people out there, fucking people. But yeah, so I don't know.
Yeah, and sometimes those people. People like Gauthier, those people, they have trouble. They have trouble just getting people to understand the way they think and how they do things, and it's just a different way of doing things. And takes some time for people to get used to those kind of things. So,
like I think a lot of people, especially in Toronto, they're like, "Oh, this guy's big. Oh, he's a center. I guess that means," and like he was drafted as like a defensive center. Yeah. So like, oh, this guy's gonna be the beast. He's gonna fight everyone and fight and hit and like go to the net and get all these rebound goals and be the best fourth line center ever. And it's like now that they're realizing, okay, he's actually okay. He's not bad. He's just a contributor. And like, I think there's a few teams out there that would take him too, but they wouldn't give up too much. I think he could float around a little bit throughout his career, and that's what he is. It's a first rounder. I mean, late first rounder, and he's probably going to play 400 games in the NHL.
Pretty good.
I mean, why not?
So the panic's settling, and they've been doing pretty good. Like, I'd say they're starting to right the ship in Toronto. We're not saying, they're missing the playoffs anymore at this point.
No, but the panic is directly related to Tampa, Florida, and Buffalo.
Okay.
Like everyone's so focused on what they're doing that nobody's sitting down and actually enjoying the Leaf games. I feel like obviously that's a blanket statement. Everybody's actually doing that, but like I feel like a lot of people are like, "Oh, great, we won," but they also did. Yeah, like
Enjoy the ride. Yeah.
It's gonna be tight. The dust could settle and we could miss by a point. We could miss on the last game of the season. Might go that way, but it could be some hell of fun hockey to watch. So just fucking sit the hell down and enjoy it.
Agreed.
Like, honestly, like sometimes that's what pisses me most off about a lot of Leaf fans. It's just like they're never satisfied. You can have the perfect team there, and it will be the coach's fault, or the coach isn't wearing the right. The coach isn't wearing the right color tie that night. Like, there will always be something that's wrong.
Yeah, where's the gratitude? They need to practice gratitude for sure.
They just don't understand it, which is fair because they've been burned and lied to and like manipulated for years and decades. So like, it's slowly coming back. But the real problem is that you can see it when you go to Buffalo, Montreal, Ottawa, Vancouver, for that matter, Calgary, Edmonton. Like, the Leaf fans are loud in other buildings. They're not in Toronto. So Toronto needs to wake the fuck up, whoever's in charge of this, and fix it. Because it's lame as hell, and no one even wants to go to the games. Like, the only people who want to go to games are people who do that as their thing, or people who've never been before.
Yeah.
For 90% or more of people that are there are probably under those two categories. Maybe it's a little high, but like the casual fan, like pretty much everybody I talk to wants to make trips to go to Buffalo, to go to Montreal, to go wherever, stay over for the night, go to the game, and might be a little bit more expensive for the whole trip, but it's better than just driving downtown, paying a buttload for parking, maybe seeing a bad game and then coming home. Like, at least you can go to the bar afterwards and have a good time. Oh, remember that time we went to Montreal and we had that experience? Like, it's more important to people like to do that. Like, they've got to change it. They've got to make it attractive again, or it's bordering on a big issue. And I think that's also part of why they don't play well at home. It's not that they don't play well at home, but I think they could play better at home. It could be more of an advantage. Like, this place could be loud. It could be somewhere where, like, every fucking storyline, which pisses me off, every Toronto boy that comes back to Toronto scores a goal or does something big, or every player that hasn't scored in 900 games fucking scores 2 goals that game. There's always a storyline, like one of two things like that. Toronto needs to change that and be the storyline of, remember that time that the team that won 7 games in a row came in and lost 5-0? Like, they've got to change it into being like, oh, we don't want to go to Toronto, not, oh, I'm going home, let's go have a good game.
Yeah.
They have to change that. And it's bleeding into the playoffs, which I think is a big reason why home ice. I don't think the Leafs want home ice. I don't think they should have home ice. I think it's better. Obviously, in Game 7, you want home ice, but I think that it's better for them to start on the road. I think that they will play better come Game 3 and 4 if they're at home, as opposed to trying to start Game 1 and 2 at home.
I can see that, because it doesn't get to the level it needs to be for like that. I do remember
intensity
in
and
the
stuff.
90s. The 90s, it seemed like the crowd was definitely louder.
Well, Gardens, it was a steeper angle, so you're like sitting on top of everybody. So like you're kind of like sense. In the bar with everybody and like drinking and like kind of. So it's a little bit different. Now it's luxurious and everybody's got space.
The VIP Cineplex chairs going on.
You get wings and beer delivered to you, and you can watch the basketball highlights and cricket highlights on the iPad on the back of the other seat. And like, I don't know, I'm being funny, but like, it's ridiculous.
Cool. Do we want to give any shout outs to these Habs, or no? We're not going to.
Not really.
Yeah. All right. Skipping over the Habs.
I mean, I don't really have anything good to say. I don't really have any bad to say. So
yeah,
they're just kind of a bunch of misfits, a little bit, or like not misfits, but just younger guys and
they're kind of just going status quo. Like they hit this point where they're like on the verge of wild card or fighting for it, and just been 500, just going along.
I think they're comparable to Vancouver in the West.
I would say, yeah, I could see that. Yes.
In terms of like their divisional competition and how they fit in their division and kind of the rivalries and kind of how they're built.
I would even give them more of a benefit of like Calgary, but
yeah, I mean they're better than Vancouver. That's not necessarily what I'm saying, but they're both kind of younger teams that didn't build through the draft, but they built through the middle of the draft and kind of tried to get a bunch of the middle guys, if that makes any sense. Like it's that's how they kind of have had to do what they've had to do over the last 2 or 3 years. But I don't know. But in terms of the Leafs, I don't know. I'm not sure what to think yet.
Yeah, I think we need to see more games.
Yes.
More games, please. Like, let's keep playing hockey. I like that idea.
The game last night was crazy. I don't know if you watched it.
Watch some of it. Who the fuck?
Other than Jack Eichel, it just seemed like they couldn't get the puck. They just couldn't get the puck off Toronto.
Jack Eichel, he's a beast.
And then, and then the Leafs stopped playing for 5 minutes and got a couple goals scored against them.
Which is what they have ddone many of times.
It's also a bit of a byproduct of coaching. There'll be lapses of, I'll call it understanding. But when you're so used to doing one thing and the coach wants you to be somewhere else, and then you're like, as you're striding, you're like, oh no, I should be over there, and then that's when it goes in, right? Like it's those little, like you realize, shit, I wasn't where I was supposed, but the realization's there. So it's just where that realization maps up with doing is where it will be consistent. And so like, not worried.
When this happened in the past, they were down to prime example. I think it was Philadelphia. They lost their mind for like 5 minutes and let in 4 goals.
Yeah.
But in that case, they were down, and then they got themselves way out of it. In this case, they had a big lead, and they managed
I think
to
the
hold
Philly
it.
was a bit of a outlier. I think the Philly game was that was a lesson game.
Yeah,
they stopped playing, and I don't think that will happen again. I think they were like, that was embarrassing.
Yep.
And that can't happen again.
No,
Holy
for
ship.
sure, for sure.
Like,
for sure.
I think that was definitely just a lesson game, and I don't think that we'll see that anytime soon.
We'll hope not. Who do we have next on the docket for the Leafs? I'm trying to remember.
For schedule,
yeah,
I think we got the Rangers tomorrow, and then I think we got Detroit on Saturday. That's off my head. I don't know.
Yeah, you're right.
I haven't been up to date with the schedule, but that's what I feel
you're
like
right. Not tomorrow though. For the it's back to back Rangers Friday, Saturday.
Okay, I should have known that because that's always the thing with. Isn't it the Hall of Fame weekend?
I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe it's not, but I feel like it's usually the Rangers Detroit back to back, usually on like the Hall of Fame weekend or some sort of something.
I'm looking ahead at the Leafs' next 5, and I think they have a strong chance to win 4. Like they got Rangers, Detroit, then they got Carolina, which would be a tough match. And then they got the Devils and Rangers again. So it's definitely a chance for them to show us that they're here to stay and to shut up and enjoy. Yeah, I agree. Good times for that.
I'm looking forward to it. I mean, maybe you can tell by my comments, I'm just trying to kind of enjoy it.
Yeah, like people should be enjoying it. They just had a great road trip, 4-game road trip, won 3 games at West. Should enjoy it. This is the time. For sure. It's
the type. I mean, I wish there was a bit more physicality. Can't be perfect. I mean, obviously, there's always things everybody wishes there was more of.
Yeah.
But it's the type of hockey I believe in terms of puck possession. Like, if you have the puck on your stick, the other team can't score. So, like, instead of dumping it in and giving them the puck and then now fighting and wasting energy to get it back, put it back to your defenseman. Regroup.
Yep.
Even if you have to do that 3-4 times, if they don't touch the puck for 3 minutes, how the hell are they going to score a goal? Even if you don't even go in their offensive zone, it's 3 minutes that they're not scoring a goal. So take it, right?
Yeah, for sure.
But I think they could make some movement here, and I don't know. Do you want to go over some standings predictions?
More standings predictions? I think. We can
like just our actual formal predictions for the what we think is going to happen in the playoffs. We're gonna have to go back and track each week how our things change. And
I think you say this every week.
I know. I'll go back. I'll go back and track them eventually when I get back into Excel mode.
I'll at least timestamp them whenever I put the video up. So
okay. So I mean, let's start with the Metro. Let's start with the Metro.
Metro.
Number 1, we agree Washington.
Yeah.
Number 2, who do you think will be when the dust settles? Who's going to be number 2 in that division?
Carolina.
Pittsburgh.
Okay, I can see that.
Number 3.
I think there's a lot of interchangeability of these next few, but my number 3 is Philadelphia.
Hold on, let me just one thing on Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh, you could argue Murray is a better goalie than Jarry, but Jarry's been playing out of his mind. Apex potential, Murray's definitely a better goalie than Jarry.
What's apex
hands down.
potential?
Like just in terms of when they play their best hockey, for regardless of what period of time it is, other than like spurts. Like if Jarry disappears,
Murray hasn't been the goaltender he used to be since Fleury left, and that concerns me.
Regardless, the tandem is solid. Whoever is playing, that's not where I was trying to get. But so the goaltending's fine. The defense has been a little bit scrambled, and hasn't Letang been hurt?
He was for a little bit, but he's been playing. He's missed some time.
And Crosby's been out for a while,
long time.
And Penguins, they do have 2 games extra played, but they're only
spurts.
Yeah, and he's got they called it a disease. I think he has some. I don't know if it's mono or something like that. But they've been saying he's had the flu and sickness, but 2 individual places, they're like, oh, blah, 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 and they hope his disease will get better, or they hope the disease will subside. And, I know sometimes those words can be interchangeable, but maybe there's something else he's dealing with. I don't know, maybe he's got diabetes. I don't know. I don't want to speculate, but there's other things out there that he, Domi deals with that, right? So maybe there's something else out there that he's dealing with or trying to deal with now, which could be affecting him. But then Crosby comes back, and they're only 2 points back of the Islanders, who you could argue the Islanders are playing their best hockey and everything's kind of going well for them. I think Pittsburgh finishes second.
It's valid. I definitely can see that.
Number 3?
I'm going to change my pick. I'm going to pick Pittsburgh, number 3.
Pittsburgh?
Yeah.
Who did you have there, Philly?
Yeah.
I got Philly 3. So we would have the good old Philly-Pittsburgh first round.
Wait, who did I say number 2? Carolina, right?
You said Carolina, yeah.
Yeah. Pittsburgh's my number 3.
So I would have Pittsburgh-Philly as 2-3, and that would be an amazing matchup to watch in the round 1.
I think that's what I had last week.
I think you did too. You soured on Pittsburgh in a week. Okay, before we go to wild card.
On Philly in a week.
Oh yeah, on Philly. So then obviously Atlantic Boston is going to win the Atlantic. Second, who do we think will finish second?
I'm going to say Tampa Bay.
I'm going to say Toronto. Number 3?
Toronto.
I say Florida. Now we get to the wild card teams. Wild card number 1. Who you got?
Philly, for sure.
Yeah? I got Tampa Bay.
Okay.
So that would leave Tampa Bay playing Washington in round 1 for me. Philly playing Pittsburgh. And then in the second wild card, depending on what they do, Carolina or Buffalo.
So you think the way you just said it, you think Boston is the top of the East?
Yep.
Okay. I believe more in Washington.
Yeah. I guess they do have some more points there. Yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah. Potential.
My second wild card, I am giving to Florida. Oh wait. Yeah, Florida. Wait, I left the Islanders completely out of it. Well, I guess that's working as intended. Working as intended. We're gonna get.
I have the Islanders phasing out. They just don't have enough. Offense.
I get a little bit of. I follow this one Islanders fan who Tuck on Sports on Twitter. Shout out to him for he's just the voice of reason with the Islanders, and so he would be just shaking his head at me right now.
Realistically, I could say the Islanders and Arizona are comparable. There's a lot of correlations there of how they're built and how they. I mean, obviously, ignoring the fact they just picked up Hall.
Yep.
Like if you took the team before that,
Like if I'm liking the Coyotes so much, I feel like I need to be liking the Islanders a little bit more.
That's kind of my point. Yeah.
Whoops.
Not necessarily just you, but like generally speaking, like if people are gonna love one, they should probably kind of love the other. But maybe not. I mean, it also depends on your competition, right? Arizona probably has lesser competition in terms of production.
For sure, the Metro's a lot more stacked than the Pacific.
Yeah.
Okay.
The last team, the wild card second for me, depending for Carolina or Buffalo, I think that they're on par with each other. I think if I had to pick right now, I think Carolina gets in because they have the better defense. But I think everything else, every other advantage goes to Buffalo. I've heard Buffalo connected with Kreider. I've heard them connected with Galchenyuk. I've heard them
Buffalo
connected with a couple other people. Yeah, so I mean, right now, I think if they both add a piece, then it's a toss-up. If one adds a piece, I take that team. So, like, it's obviously a kind of a cop-out, but, like, let's see what team wants to make the playoffs. And I hear both of them want to add forwards. So let's see which team actually can line up and force a trade or make a trade happen or kind of see.
Speaking I think the Carolina, Svechnikov, you see he did another one of those lacrosse goals of his.
Oh, did he? I didn't see that.
Yesterday. So he's got 2 this season already. Behind the net, just put it over your goalie's shoulder.
The thing that people have to understand about that goal, which makes it even more impeccable or incredible, is that it's also different because they have like 6 sticks on the bench. But when you have ice buildup on your stick, you can't do that because they'll just slide off your tape. You need to have either wet or dry tape so that it has the friction so that it can pop it up and pull it up. Now, I mean, sometimes you can do it, and there are some people out there that can do it stick with no tape. And that's just about being smooth with it and doing it the right tempo and everything. But to be able to do it that way, you need that. So, like, if you're skating around the ice on a long shift, and you've passed the puck a couple times or, like, had your puck on the ice skating back, you have a little bit of ice buildup on your blade, right?
Yeah.
So to go and do that behind the net, it would just fall off your stick. So, like, the chances of him, like, what I would want to know on both of those goals is how long was he on the ice? Did he just come right off the bench and still had like a fresh stick and did it? Was it at the start of a period? Was it at the end of a period? There's more ice buildup at the end of the period, but there's also scrapers, so it's a little bit different. But yeah, so like there's always that to take into consideration. Like me personally, I can do it a little bit. I could never do it like in game action, but I can do it on my backhand, which to some people is more impressive. But like I could do it on backhand like during the game, and I actually like to do it like I'm a righty. So, like, I'll go down the left side and flip it up on my back and, like, cut in and kind of just drag the puck on my stick in. And people are like, wait, what just happened? It's not really ideal behind the net, but in other situations, it works. But, yeah, I didn't see that. I got a notification that he had a sick goal, but I haven't seen it yet.
Same old. He's having a good year.
Yeah, I traded him in my other league for nothing. And I regret it because my forwards suck. I just want to go back quickly and see what I traded for him. It was nothing. It was to Nick, so like I don't mind because I knew he would be valuable, and I had so many top picks. I needed to move somebody because I had stashed so many guys, and I had no flexibility, and like guys were stashed on IR and everything. So like I had to move him. So I was trying to be nice to Nick. So I was just like, here's nothing in return for him because I don't want the rest of the competition to get him. That was literally where it came from. And it was, so I traded Svechnikov, my 13th and my 14th, and I got a 12th and a 13th back with Oscar Klefbom. So I got a useful piece, and I upped 2 rounds. But he's like a top, in this pool specifically, he's ranked 15th overall. Which that would be my best forward.
All right, let's finish up these standings, then we can jump into
Let's go to the West.
Fantasy talk. So West, Central,
number 1 for you, or what? Just do your 3. Rattle off your 3.
My 3. Let's see. I'm gonna go St. Louis, Colorado, Dallas.
So we have the same teams, but I have Colorado, Dallas, St. Louis.
I give the edge to St. Louis because they're the reigning champs. That's all.
Yeah, I give the advantage to Colorado just because they have cap room and assets, and if they want to, they can go out and get a couple pieces to push them past the other teams. If they don't, then they probably won't, but they do have that opportunity, I believe, more so than the other teams.
All right, and then Pacific, I'm going to say Vegas, Coyotes, Calgary.
So we have the same three teams, different order again, though. I got Calgary, Vegas, Arizona.
Different order. I think Vegas is gonna eventually start walking away with this one a little bit. I'm starting to think that.
I'm just laughing because we're both discounting Winnipeg and Edmonton, at least outside their divisions.
Like we went on the talk at the beginning of the show a little bit of why are we discounting Winnipeg? It's really just a defenseman, and then here we are. I'm doing it anyway.
Yep. So wild card.
I'd give the wild card to, let's see, I'll give one to Winnipeg. And then I'm actually going to go a little bit off the board here, I think, and give the last one to Nashville.
So we have the same two teams. I have San Jose and Edmonton falling out.
San Jose, I'm counting San Jose out too. So you have Winnipeg and Nashville, so 5 Centrals for both of us. Yep. Even after I said at the beginning, like Pacific's gonna get 4 or 5, I end up eating my words.
That's why I questioned you, because I knew that's where I was headed. So I was wondering. So you're contradictory to your own.
my own said, yeah, the Pacific's definitely getting 4. You can tell I had a little bit of Pacific Coast bias going on there.
A little bit. When you step back, it makes more sense, though.
Yeah, when I'm looking at the bigger picture all at once. That's funny.
So I want to introduce a little bit of a new part of or twist of this segment.
Okay.
I want to do a eliminated teams, where we go through the teams where we basically are considering them eliminated from playoff contention, and this will also be tracked to see if there's any teams that have gone from playoff contention and came out of nowhere to make the playoffs.
Okay.
So. Let's go with the East.
What do you mean by eliminate? Like, there's no chance in hell? I don't think they're going to make it.
You do not consider them a legitimate competition for a playoff spot at this moment. You do not see them
I can do that.
Having a foot in the door.
All right. Let's start with the East because it feels easy.
Okay.
Detroit, Jersey, Ottawa, Columbus, Rangers.
I would add Montreal. Yeah. I got Detroit, New Jersey, Columbus, Ottawa, Montreal, New York. Rangers.
Same.
Islanders I can't count out, but I just don't have them in my playoffs. Yeah. They'll be there. If somebody has to miss, that's who I want to miss, so I'm going to pick them to miss.
Maybe that's funny. I think
now in the West.
Wow, I'm have this sorted by conference right now, and I'm a little shocked to see Chicago in last. I didn't expect to see that.
Would you consider them eliminated?
I would consider them eliminated now, though.
Me too. Anaheim?
Eliminated.
LA?
Eliminated.
Vancouver?
Not eliminated.
I have them as eliminated.
San eliminated? Jose? Oh my
God. Yep.
You're talking like the fans around here, man.
I don't see a way for them to get in the playoffs. Everything's going well for them in the sense of players playing well. Like they could go out and get a couple of things, but like
things aren't really going well for them though. Like they've had a large number of injuries on key players. Like Beagle's been out most of the season. Sutter's been out.
We're talking bottom line players there.
These are players that are important to the way Vancouver's built, though.
It makes the bottom line come up more, for sure.
Their penalty kill is...
That's fair.
They've been missing 3 of their best penalty killers for a large part of the season.
Not a good penalty kill? What's their penalty kill at?
I don't know. I'm just...
Not great?
I'm assuming not great.
Yeah.
But just, I don't know. To me, the team that... what's his face? Bill. What their GM's name is getting Benning
Jim
built. Yeah, the team he built isn't really on
Jim knows Dallas. Sorry,
Jim Benning.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Like Sure, you count them out all you want. They're not out.
I count them out. And believe it or not, I count out Minnesota.
Yeah, I don't count them out either.
I do.
Too many veterans. Too many veterans on that team to be counting them out.
There's just not enough impact making. There's not enough differential making for them. Like, sure, somebody could like come out of nowhere and like Eric Stahl and player X and player Y and player ABC all go crazy and they make it. I obviously am not God. I can't control who's going to make the playoffs. But honestly, I
don't think they're any worse than
Winnipeg.
I
just don't see them legit. I don't think that's an unfair statement to make. When things get going into the tough part of the season, I just don't see them sticking around.
All right,
I still think it's a little early where everyone's kind of still in it, but the trajectories, I see them going downwards at a level bar. So I think
I see you've skipped over the Sharks. Was that intended or an accident?
I don't know. The Sharks are really interesting to me, and they're probably my number one team I'm watching in terms of off-ice stuff. Their GM likes to be bold. They're locked into a lot of terms, so any deal they have to make has to be a body that is also locked into terms. So, like, we're looking at players that aren't necessarily being talked about and players that aren't the guys that are on the common lists of, like, top available guys or possible guys trade at the deadline or guys to be UFAs, that kind of thing, right? Go lay down. Sorry, my dog's walking in all my cords right now. Rolly, go lay down.
I think the Sharks are interesting. I think they're about to pay the price for making the playoffs so much. Trying to be a contender so many years in a row. They're about to pay the price.
Yeah. And that could totally be true.
Tax.
Yep. And Chicago to some extent. Yeah. But I just feel like what I was trying to get at there before my dog came in there and tried to pull all my cords off my table was basically that right now, a lot of the teams that we're going to talk about from here after the trade freeze until the trade deadline, a lot of them are going to be guys that are either expiring guys or guys with like 1 year left. If San Jose is in the market for a big deal, it's going to be guys who are on 3, 4, 5 year deals still.
Yeah.
And I think they have to move at least, like, nobody's going to take on Jones 1 for 1. So they're going to have to take that bad contract on in another position, which means now you're taking on a goalie that you're trying to get and then taking on that other bad contract. So now you're at a 2 for 2, and then you're adding in the eveners. So now you're talking about 2 or 3, 4, 5 other pieces mixed between the two teams, right?
Yeah.
So, like, we're talking a massive trade if there's going to be something that happens. And, like, I don't know who could possibly help San Jose out with Jones' contract because, like, that's bad. Yes.
Martin Jones?
With the way he's performing, yes.
Well, he's performing like he shouldn't even be in the league.
That's my point.
And they have him until 2024. Wow.
So he's got 4 more years at 5.75.
And a no trade clause. Modified.
A no trade clause. And even if you want to look at goalies as a tandem, and most stud goalies are getting what, about 10 mil, and then add a backup, which is getting like half or 3/4 of a mil. So let's say most teams are spending about 11 million on goalies. 10 to 12 anyways. Let's take the average of 11. And you're going to have, even if he's your backup, you're paying your backup half of your allowable goalies. So that only fits are either a young goalie or a goalie on a good contract. So if you make a list of guys that fit that criteria, it's probably like 5 people deep.
So they're going to trade with Pittsburgh is what you're saying.
For Murray,
DeSmith, Jarry?
I don't think they could do that. I think that would be, unless they moved. They
got to move
Johnson. If Pittsburgh moved Jack Johnson to San Jose, maybe. But that's the type of deal we're looking at, right?
Yeah. Heard it here first.
I'm interested now to see what other, like, to break it down quick. Like, Chicago, no. Anaheim, no. LA, no. Vancouver. Why would they move Markstrom unless they believed in Demko? The only way that Vancouver would do is if they're getting something amazing and they're going to ride with Demko as their guy. And
Vancouver's not in the position to make
it doesn't make sense, right?
They're not going to trade.
It just doesn't make sense
in the division either. Like that.
It doesn't make sense. What's Nashville's cap on Rene? I doubt they would move Rene for Jones, but if it's a big deal, maybe because they got Turris. Nashville's trying to move Turris, right?
Why are they trying to move Turris?
He's a center. He can't really play wing.
Is that what they've been?
But he's just not getting ice time. And they've got Johansson there and Forsberg who prefers to play center. So like they just, I think it's best for them to move on. But he's not playing, so people aren't going to take on his contract for nothing, right?
Too, right?
Yeah, that too. So Rene's only one more year at 5, so that's not a deal to be had. Calgary, no. Why would they do that? Edmonton, unless they thought Jones was better than like Koskinen. But like, no, right?
Jesus.
Vegas. Why would Vegas bring in Jones to back up Fleury? That wouldn't make sense. Would Arizona move one of Kemper or Ranta in a bigger deal to get another nice piece? Probably not. But, I mean, if we're grasping at straws, maybe.
I think we are grasping at straws right now.
We are a little bit, but, I mean, Colorado, no. Why would they help them out? Detroit, maybe they get Howard back, and Detroit gets picks and prospects to eat that deal until their future goalies are ready, and they just let Jones...
I'm with you. We got to wait and see what San Jose does here. Because they can't...
They got to do something.
They're not going to hold their hand this year.
They can't.
Yeah, they can't.
They can't.
So.
They have to. If things were going well, sure, you could hold as is, but like you can't run the season and come back and be like, oh, let's try next year then. Like they've got old guys that are almost retiring and leaving. Like Thornton and Marlowe aren't going to want to stick around. Like for all they know, they'll be like, fuck, trade me to Toronto because there's talk of that, right? Like maybe not really, but you know what I mean. Like they could be like, hey, just trade me off. Like, yeah, they could move Marlowe, they could move a couple of guys that are expiring, but you're still locked in with a lot of these other guys. Like, they're in trouble. But I'm also watching them.
Yep, for sure.
I feel like if they're going to do something, it's going to be massive, and it's going to be this year or this offseason. So
Sounds
my
good.
eyes on them.
All right. I think we hit the standings all over the place, up, down, inside, out. So.
Yep.
All right. I think it's time to shift it into overdrive, and
what
that just means let's talk about the Klefboms.
Yeah, one quick thing.
Yes.
I wanted to mention a name that I haven't heard many people talk about. His name is Timur Bilyalov, and he's a goalie. Mm-hmm. He's heavily scouted. His stats are absolutely ridiculous, and they're record-breaking in the KHL right now. He's tiny. He's 5'10", so there's a lot of skepticism on him. He's 24, though. But this year, in 16 games on a team that is not good, so he's not a byproduct of a good defensive team, he has a 1.10 goals against and a 9.57 save percentage. Last year in Dynamo, Tier 1, 38 games, again, on not a great team, so not byproduct of defense. He had a 2.18 goals against and a 930 save percentage. Leafs are favored to be one of the 3 favorites to land him. So I'm curious, and why I'm mentioning that is that might be the solution the Leafs are waiting for the backup goalie. His contract expires at the end of the year, or toward just before the playoffs, so he could theoretically sign. They'd have to sign him to a 2-year deal, and if they played him, they'd burn the first year. Yeah. So like they lose a first year for only like a handful of games.
Why does it have to be a 2-year deal?
It depends. It's a CBA thing. It depends on age, and it depends on how many years pro. So, like, if they've played a certain amount of games pro, then they can sign a 1-year deal at an entry level, and then they're free to sign whatever they want. So that makes it a level playing field. So it's not like the Rangers and the Leafs can come in and be like, "Oh, you offered $2 million, we'll offer $5 million," and just steal the guy. So, and then if they're slightly younger, they have to sign a 2-year, or if they're kind of like really young, it's like a 3-year, like a same entry level for a prospect. So it depends on age and seniority, I guess, is the best way to probably say it. But
okay, sounds good.
Yeah. So on to Klefboms.
Klefboms.
Where do we fucking start?
Let's start where we always start. Let's try to go this way. We'll talk about trades, because I always like talking about the fake trades we did.
Yeah.
Then we can talk about we could talk about a couple things. We got to talk about all this bullshit that's going on in the league with people saying they're going to quit, because I want to get to the bottom of this. That seems ridiculous.
I honestly don't think it's legit. But
we'll
if
get to...
If it is, I'm making notice right now. I don't care. Quit. The pool will fall apart. And I've already made the commitment to myself that if this league falls apart, I am done with fantasy. I will not try again. So go ahead. If anyone wants to quit, go ahead. I'm done. I'll bow out as well. So don't threaten me.
I'm not threatening you. I'm disappointed.
No, you do. I'm just saying.
I'm disappointed that why would you enter into a league where the expectation is it's keeper league? So like the first season, things happen for the next season. So if everybody quits, what the hell is the point? Definitely, by the sounds of it, the people that are potentially quitting are teams that have no chance of winning. So why would you quit?
Yeah, and there's one particular situation which I'm not going to get into, but one manager's going to be replaced for next year. But beyond that, they're
like guaranteed he's being replaced.
Yes, and we can talk about it off air. But
okay,
yeah,
I was just going to say, don't you think that everybody should know that?
I've made it aware to some people. The people, like, I haven't made a posting to everyone who won't care, but I have made it known, or I will make it known to like the people that care, and the people that
I figured everybody cares. Why would you?
Well, there will be a posting, but like it doesn't really have to be explained, and that's what I'm worried about. I don't really want to have to explain it to everybody, or like I will explain it to people in private, but yeah. Like,
all right, we'll do that after then.
But yeah.
Okay, I think I know some people that might be able to step up and actually be legitimate.
Okay.
So.
And like, to be fair, that person, I mean, we've had the conversation where on one hand it's like you've paid 50, so like you're committed, so like do what you need to do. If trades line up and it makes sense, then it is what it is. But at the same time, don't go out ruining the future either. So like, if it's not fair to be like, don't make any trades if it doesn't make sense just because you're done at the end of this year. But at the same time, like if it makes sense, go for it, kind of thing, you know? That's my take anyways.
Yeah. Well,
but
I'll have more of an opinion once I figure out what's going on, obviously.
Yeah, I've got 3 people, though, that have suggested or flat out threatened the disinterest long-term or as soon as next year if certain things don't happen, change, or interest.
So, like, basically if they suck at managing a team and they're not winning, they're out?
There's different perceptions going on. There's different perceptions of what's really happening, because there's one perception I've got where they believe there's really only 2 or 3 teams that are talking to each other making these trades because they've been making other trade offers, and in their opinion, they've made trades where it would be silly for a manager not to accept the trade. Like, it was such an overpayment that they expected them to like run away with it and accept it and like laugh at it, basically. Yeah. And like, he sent me a couple of the offers he made, and like they were good offers, but I reminded them that like sometimes people just don't want to move a guy, or sometimes that's their keeper, or sometimes they believe in that guy, or sometimes they just like watching that team's games and they like having him there. Sometimes they just want to see what happens with their team. Like, there's different factors, which not because the value isn't fair, but just because the deal's going to happen. It won't happen regardless.
I'm going to go out there, and if anyone's trying to trade with Steve and gives him a fair deal, he's going to say no. Just
What's
because,
that?
like Steve, for instance, 2 goalies, he's going to say no to a lot of trades that are fair because he thinks his players are undervalued, and that's fair. I think that's fair.
Yeah.
I don't know if his team is the one they're complaining about. I don't know.
No, but I mean, like it just
you're privy to a lot of information by being commish,
and that's the thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, like, I'm not trying to down talk or downplay or anything that, or like, you know, single out anybody intentionally for any negative reasons, but I just, it's basically what I tried to tell them was like, I'll get involved if I have to. Like, I mean, I texted Ben when you wanted to get involved with Trouba, and then I don't know if that had anything to do with how that one happened or not, but like, he was at least aware that people are interested. But like the offer he showed me in particular, it was a really good offer. But like I know for a fact that team just doesn't like. I've tried to make several types of offers, whether it's multiple players for player combination with picks and future, like, and all of them have been me definitely overpaying, and they just don't want to make a trade. And like that's coming from me.
And I'm finding out there are teams like that because I'm in a second fantasy pool, and I finally realized they have a WhatsApp group, so I'm gonna try and go in there, and I'm taking the Tory approach to get everyone pissed off at me, like making me a fucking trade, you motherfuckers. Because there hasn't been a single trade all season in this pool, and I've been throwing out offers and just getting rejected, no counter. So I was just like,
which can be frustrating.
Anyone out there making a trade, like my team's very stale, so I need something to like get me feeling good about my team because I'm not. But I can understand where it happens, but I can also understand managers are fucking strange. There's like you and Nick who are always dealing. There's me who's like semi-dealing. Dylan seems to deal a lot, but
the thing that people don't realize, and like I can speak for kind of Nick, but more so myself, is that like I probably spend about 20 minutes to 30 minutes a day looking at my weaknesses, what works, how other teams are doing, how pieces are fitting in. Like,
that's at least that.
Much time. I'm just using it as like a bare minimum. And like other people will just go in and not necessarily in this pool, but other people do just set lineups. And that's what they do. And like to each their own. I'm interested in making the best team I can make. However, I can take advantage of anything to do that.
Yeah, that's what. So maybe it's just a difference in mindset between some of these people. We need to.
And like, the one comment was they didn't necessarily like the minimal value in centers, and I was like, well, you have to kind of look at the breakdown, but at the same time, everyone kind of already has their centers locked in, so nobody is really looking at a center necessarily. But if you drop them, somebody will add them because it's like, oh, well, I have somebody slightly worse, so I'll add that. So he was frustrated because he's like, I know there's value, but nobody wants to give me that value. So I said to him, well, find a garbage team that you know won't hurt you and just dump them off for a pick and then move on. Like, or like I also suggested to go and target a couple certain specific people. And like I can't help them if they don't want to go and look and try and make trades, right?
Like, I'm going to give Nick props here for turning Jarry into a decent pick off the waiver wire. That's a prime example of taking
I did the same with Olofsson myself.
Yeah, taking a player that he's good, there's some slight value, but no one's going to trade for him.
Yep.
And give him to the worst team in the league who had 2 garbage goalies for like 4-round upgrade and pick. Like, that was pretty. Like, I'm giving him mad props for that.
Yep.
And it's gonna make people have a harder time beating that team. Like, it's just gonna help Nick that much more with the President's Trophy. Fuck.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what I did with Olofsson.
Exactly. Yeah.
Realistically, I added him because I had Mantha hurt and a couple other. I had Taylor Hall sitting out because of the trade, and I had Malkin with the sickness sitting out. So I had a bunch of guys out. So I was like, oh, he's playing well and he's playing with Eichel, so let's pick him up. So I contacted Steve and I was like, well, I know you're trying to continue to get better to make the playoffs. So are you interested in a top 50 player? He's like, sure, make me an offer. And I was like, well, let me send you my 2 worst picks and let me try and upgrade for 2 picks I want. And he's like, yeah, I'm down with that. So I upgraded, 5 rounds total.
For a guy that you would have had to drop.
Yeah, that day.
And that's the thing. If Elliott doesn't get lit up, Nick potentially has to drop Jarry. Drop him for nothing.
Yep. And he said he was about to.
I know he was. Like, I was talking to him today.
Things change, right?
It's crazy. Like, yeah. But that's the thing. It sounds like that. These other managers aren't seeing the intricacies of little deals and little things like that, which actually will improve your.
But the thing is that Nick and I have done this last year. So we've already kind of run the gauntlet. We know,
what it's like,
the issues. We know the little loopholes to take advantage of. We know the things to expect. We know that we can set deals up for after the year. Like, I don't know if you've thought of that or not, or if we've talked about that at all or whatever.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, so I mean, like, you could be like, all right, if you want, so for example, Freddie Anderson, somebody's probably going to want to keep Freddie Anderson. So let's say Team X is like, I want him. Okay, well, I want him to try and win this year, but after I have my shot at winning and it's like in the off season, I can agree now to trade him then for a pick. So like, for example, I know that Nick has a deal with a team for a goalie. So once Nick gets a shot at winning, that goalie is going to the other team in the offseason. And that deal's already set up. So like
it's like a conditional thing.
Yeah, and like in my other pool with Nick, I traded him Burns, and I had 2 first-round picks, which I took McDavid and Seguin. So I know I can't keep Seguin. So I told him at the end of the season, you get Seguin, I get my second, I keep Burns. So it's already agreed to. It's just we got to wait for the season to finish and then.
Yeah, but can these people in theory they renege on it? Have a better deal came still?
Honestly, it's a gentleman's agreement at that point. So, like, if somebody wants to break that, you'll probably ruin that relationship. So that's your own decision to do.
Fair enough.
So, like, you gotta value and you gotta see if that's of value to you to ruin or not.
Would you allow conditional draft picks to be traded? So, for instance,
yeah, give me an example.
Just say I want Matthews. I forget what team he's on, but I want Matthews.
Team Joey.
For Team Joey, I'm like, yo, I'll give if you give me Matthews, I'll give you a 2nd round pick and blah 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 blah. But if I win the league, that 2nd round pick becomes a 1st round pick.
If you and the other manager agree to those terms, and those terms are posted on the message board at the same time or in WhatsApp or something to make it official, that we all know what the conditions are, and I can Snapchat or I can screenshot it and reference it somewhere, I'm good with it. I don't care.
Cool.
I don't care. Honestly, my goal is to make this as open-ranged and have as much variance. If we have 12 managers, if we were to expand, and there's 10 different strategies, that is what I want. Like, I know, because then, dude, where do you go? How do you win?
To me, the vision of this league is awesome. I love it. That's why it concerns me when you tell me people are threatening to quit, because it seemed pretty straightforward at the beginning when this all started that it's going to be pretty simple in the fact that you don't need to have a bench. You know what the categories are. There aren't many of them. And then the rest is kind of like, so it concerned me that. Yeah, and like by having it so simple, you do leave it open to having expansion drafts, which I think is kind of fun and exciting on its whole own thing.
Mm-hmm. And I talked about it a bit with Nick last night to ease any concern with expansion, because I'm sure there's a lot of questions about what it would look like. I don't know, but we have a lot of time, because the soonest I would ever consider it
year 3
is after year 4, going into year 5. So that way the first rounders from this year for next year, that you can keep, can go through their 3-year keeper cycle. Unless because there's going to be some talk this year, obviously, about getting one replacement. And maybe there's, like, for example, Rundles, Puckets, and Beer Buds. They're buddies. So I got Jamie because I was friends with him at the time, and he brought his buddy because they wanted to come in as a pair. So, like, for all we know, we asked somebody like, oh, I got 3 buddies who also want to come in, and all of a sudden we know that expansion is possible. Then what I would do in that scenario is I would say, okay, for this term of keepers, I'm minimizing the window from 3 years to 2 so that we can expand between year 3 and 4. Mm-hmm. And then that way everyone can manage. And then after that, we either keep keepers as 2 years or we push it back to 3. And then, because I don't know if we expand from 12 to 14, maybe we go right from 10 to 14, depending on what happens. I don't think I'd want to.
Yeah, I don't know if I
like that. I don't know.
Yeah, it'd be hard.
I don't know. I'd rather go 12 and then maybe eventually, like, who knows? Maybe this turns into something that gets really big, right? Especially like if people want to join it that are listening to their podcast and let us know. It's a keeper commitment. Money goes up every year, but it's worth it because even somebody who I didn't expect to say something, they're just like it makes it so much better because at least if things don't work out this season, it's not like fuck it, I won't pay attention the rest of the year. We'll just start again next year. It's like I can still do stuff. I can build towards the future. I can still try and add guys that are worth and manufacture picks. I can still do things to make me relevant. Mm-hmm. But I just want to jump back to the setup of the pool there. Excuse me. My ultimate goals, which I think I accomplished, is I wanted to keep as many matchups relevant to the weekend as possible.
Yep.
Which to accomplish that, you want to minimize the categories because the more spread, the more you can, especially penalty minutes and blocks. Like if you get the 4 best plugs, you could just run those categories and win every week.
Yeah, that's pretty lame.
So like, and then you're like, oh, it's 8-3 all week. Like you're gonna have those weeks, but like ideally, I want them as close as much, and I want everyone really close. Like there's 5 points between the second team and the 8th team. Mm-hmm. So like it's close, right? And then on top of that, I wanted to have activity, which the deeper you get, the more guys will be inclined to keep the guys they want to keep, or be like, oh, I have a deeper team and Burns isn't having a great year. I'm more inclined to sit on it and hope he turns it around than sell low on him. So really, if you make it deeper, it's actually going to make it more stagnant. So that's another reason why I made it as shallow. And on top of that, Standard Leagues has 4 defensemen. So you can see I knew this was going to be the case because I shrunk that to 3 defensemen. So right in that small example alone, I can prove that I already knew it was going to be a problem and it was going to be a shallower position. But I don't have the official announcements yet, but I'm working on it. There are some rule changes coming up, and I have an idea. I'm going to announce them on here.
Oh, so shit. On the podcast.
So everybody has to listen to the podcast to get the rules. So that's how we can start forcing people to listen to us a little bit.
Yeah.
Or at least skip to this tag part.
Yeah, I'll skip it to the exact part of the Klefboms.
Yeah.
No, I like it.
Yeah.
I don't know. This is honestly some of the most fun I've had in fantasy hockey because the keeper aspect. I've always discounted it, and now I'm in love with it. The draft pick element is just it's awesome. I like it. So
it adds
much.
just such a depth to it.
I didn't like auction drafts as much as much, and I do like it. I know you've given up on baseball fantasy, but I can see myself doing a baseball fantasy keeper league myself, even if it's small, even if it's easy.
I would consider a keeper maybe.
Keeper league. It's something I'm going to consider, and
if the setup was right and it was baseball keepers, I would consider it. I'm not saying I would do it, but I would
make it easy, like kind of like what we got here, where you don't have to put.
And Nick might too.
Yeah, so
maybe even
if it's a small league to get it started, I'm definitely.
It would really have to be set up a certain way, though. But
I'll definitely. I'm gonna take a look at it. I think that's something I want to try to launch because. Last year was the first year I didn't have a baseball league, and it hurt me inside.
Honestly, I watched probably a total of like 25 innings of baseball, all of like not even Jays, just baseball, including playoffs.
I had MLB package, and I watched a ton in April, and then almost none.
Yeah, I feel like baseball, I can't commit for like 4 hours of sitting down. Like I'll sit down for the 7th, 8th, and 9th if I've got nothing going on. But I can't unless if it's like, oh, this kid's pitching, or like I want to watch Vladdy Guerrero, or like something like that, or it's like I'm working on a Saturday and I'll just put it on while I'm doing overtime, like stuff like that. But I'm not like, oh, I'm excited to watch the Jays. This guy's coming and starting, and I want to see this matchup. Like that. I used to be kind of like that. I've lost all.
It'll come back.
Interest on that level, maybe.
We'll bring it to the podcast when hockey's out.
I do have a couple things I know I'm going to do for Klefboms this offseason. The first thing I'm going to drop positions. I'm going to drop positions for centers and wing. So it's only going to be. Yep, it's just going to be forward.
Okay.
And I think I'm going to change the utility to D. These aren't officially up, but this is just what I'm thinking, obviously. So that way, the depth gets pushed down, and I'm thinking of actually adding a winger or a forward, I should say. So that way we push the forward down one bar, and then we'll pull the D up.
Technically, you're going to have the same amount of forwards if you're switching one of the utilities to D.
No, sorry. So change one utility to D and then add a forward.
Yeah. So right now, both utilities are forwards.
Yes.
Realistically, right? So really,
one will be a D.
Yeah, one will be a D, so there'll only be one utility spot, or is there going to be two?
Yes.
Yeah, no, so so it's the exact same amount of forwards. Realistically.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
Because who's ever going to start 5D? So like, why even have a utility spot?
Unless there's blocks, and even then you're starting the wrong defenseman. That's the part I don't get. Like, it doesn't, and like I know that Dylan doesn't like the fact I keep using like Dahlin and Makar, but those are the defensemen he has, which is why I'm using them.
Like, I know he doesn't like it either, but those are also the defensemen that go first in the draft for a reason.
Yes. Like, and that's the thing is
like,
he said that
not only fantasy draft, but real draft.
Yeah. My interpretation from one of the original comments was the displeasure of the value of trading them. Like, it sounded like he's like, oh, I want to trade them, but I'm not getting the offers I expected I was getting or thought I would be getting. There's got to be a way where we can make defensemen valuable on the trade market. That's what I took out of it.
From. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like
he has four. Well, at the time, I don't think he's.
He dropped Dahlin.
Yeah. So, but he still has 4 or 3.
3, I think.
Top-notch defensemen. Which, if he's a legitimate contender for the league,
but nobody's really looking for a defenseman right now because defense don't produce at the level of a forward.
I was in trades with him, but he just wanted too much for it.
Well, Nick wants to trade Burns so that he can run no defenseman.
It's not gonna work.
It's one way to do it. I don't really like it. I think it's the positions are there. Like, I run 3 goalies, so it's a little bit contradictory to say that, but if I go back to before the season, I specifically already set my plan. I was taking 3 goalies because of the saves, because of the wins, mass numbers, and I was going to run 1 less D because D was the least valuable out of all the other positions. So if I had to sacrifice one of the skaters, it was a defenseman for the goalie.
Yeah.
Which that was what I looked at before I even got into any depth of anything. So, like, I knew I was going to run 2D, and I knew that I wanted to get 2 D that were worth putting out there. So I took a defenseman in the 2nd round and in the 10th round, which was Doughty, which was undervalued.
So the way I went into the draft was that I need 1 solid D, and then the rest can be someone that steps up later down in the season.
Yep. Which now I'm starting to take that strategy with goalies. There's always a goalie that pops up off after the draft that makes the season.
I always had that.
Kemper.
I drafted Kemper, thanks very much.
Oh, did you? Oh, okay.
No,
I didn't know that.
I didn't.
Okay.
I picked him up before he played a game, though.
Yeah. I did the same with Rittich in one of my other leagues, and he's like top 50 player.
I added him October 3rd, 9 a.m.
That's pretty solid. So we didn't break down the trades, though.
Yeah, we didn't. So let's do that.
All right.
We kind of started scrambling into the drama.
I know. So Jarry and Jones, we did do that one. That was a good pick. That's a win. That's good for both teams, really. The pick I thought was a bit rich to give up for Ben, but
I thought so too.
Whatever.
I thought it was a bit rich, unless he plans to keep him, I guess. But the other thing we always have to take into account is what picks were actually available to be dealt. That's true too.
Because if he didn't have a 9 or a 10 or 11, which he doesn't have a 9 or 10.
So he can't even keep Jarry unless he wants to give up an 8th round, which he just gave up 1. So.
He's the team that Nick has a deal in place with somebody else. So Jarry's only to help him win if he continues to stay hot. If not, then he gets to drop him and whatever. But if he is a good goalie, which I don't believe he is, but if he does and he helps him win the consolation, because he has Rittich, right? So if Jarry keeps it up and Pittsburgh gets going, and he has Jarry and Rittich, that's not a bad tandem. It's tough. It's kind of tough to beat. Like, it's no pushover.
Jarry single-handedly beat me last week, so.
Yep, he did for those 2 weeks. But yeah, I mean, he didn't have the 9-10, so I don't think it's going to work out for him, but it's a win for Nick.
All right. Next trade before that was your Olofsson trade. We kind of broke that down as well.
Yeah. You gained 5 rounds.
Gained
for free.
And then there's the trade before that involved me, my first trade of the season.
Big mover.
I traded 2 rounds essentially for Trouba.
But why did you go so high with the 4 and 5? Why didn't you start at like 7, 8 or a little lower?
Because I want to keep those picks. I didn't really think about it too much. 4th round for 5th round. To be honest, when I'm looking at 4th and 5th round, I know that you might think I'm crazy, but I still think I have a chance to win this fucking thing.
I shouldn't say nobody doesn't, but I'm not counting it out.
So the way I looked at it, if I won, and
that's the goal. You have to look at it that way.
So when I win and Captain Clutch comes last, it's the difference of 1 pick.
Yep.
Literally 1 pick. So I thought worst case scenario, I'm losing 4 or 5 picks, and at that point in the draft, it's not horrible.
Yeah.
And I also thought that I can pick just like I did the same thing in the later rounds.
Yeah.
So I don't think there's a difference between a 13th and a 14th round pick, especially when it's
after the 10th round, it doesn't matter.
Exactly.
But I don't know.
So
it's I haven't referred to any of those picks that you just were talking about just because like that comes more important after the season's done, obviously, and it comes like finite, so you actually know. Yeah. But even I just go with rounds.
I have
like
a
plus minus
good
rounds
idea of who I'm keeping.
Yeah, I know exactly who I'm keeping.
You said it changed.
Well,
are you still keeping
I know exactly who I'm keeping, unless there's somebody out there willing to give me a nice price to keep them instead.
Okay.
And it's Malkin and Draisaitl in round 3.
Yeah.
Doughty round 9 and Kuznetsov round 10. I may move on from Kuznetsov or not keep him, but those are the only 4 I'm even considering. I have 4 first-round picks on my team. How could I possibly keep them all?
Okay. After that, I think we covered those last ones.
Did we get the Markstrom for Smith? That one didn't really make sense.
Yeah, we did talk about that one because I remember last time we were talking about how he'd been it's like 2 weeks before my trade.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we had talked about that one because Markstrom you were like he got lit up his first game in, but he actually didn't play.
Yeah. So looking at picks though, I am in a wonderful position for next year because I don't have a pick after the 11th round.
I saw that. You're in good.
Smart.
Your team isn't. You're not even going to suffer next year.
I will a little bit because I won't have that middle meat and potatoes. But if I hit on those, because between the 9th and the 11th round, I have 6 picks. So like I can really build my team how I want to.
I hope.
I would expect myself to hit on 2 or 3, if not more. And if that just results in me trading those guys for next year to build so that I can go for round 3, it's probably or year 3, that's probably what I'll do.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm just gonna keep trying moving those picks up and moving those picks up and moving those picks up. That's how I got in my other pool all my picks in the top 9 rounds. I just kept, this guy's my spare guy. I got to drop him. Find a bad team. Okay, this team's not going to hurt me. Give me 2-round upgrade. Oh yeah, I could use this player. Sure, I'll accept. Okay, thank you. Moving on. Did that so many times.
God damn. Do people not realize they have leverage on you sometimes? That's the fucking thing. Like,
they don't look at the big picture.
I know they don't. It's hilarious.
All they think is, they don't sit back and think like, why are you giving me this deal? What's in it for you?
Nobody.
I would tell them. I would be straight up like, hey, I have to drop them, and you can get them off of waivers tomorrow. If not,
use some of your fucking waiver dollars. Yeah, you wouldn't give that away, would you?
No, I wouldn't sell that. But hey, if they just listen to the podcast, they'd know now. Secrets come out.
Secrets come out for sure.
But I still have a lot of tradable assets, man. I still have a lot of possibilities. I'm not done yet.
I know you're not. No,
because I want to create a hole. I have to create a hole because I don't want to have my team in the playoffs. I want to use my 7 ads, right? So you need to have a roster spot open. So that gives me the ability to package a 2-for-1. and I don't really have any bad players. So even if it's just like a C plus or a couple B minus players for maybe a B plus or an A minus player with some picks involved, like not top level, but
like
middle level to just sweeten. No, I could do it that way, or I either want to do a trade where I continue to get better picks and I take a little bit of a hit now, but then I can take advantage of the hole, or I want to give more picks and get a more premier player. So, I mean, I could bundle any combination of Kuznetsov, Mantha, Carlson, and Ben along with the picks I have left. So there's still some movable pieces there.
What about, you want to give me Taylor Hall and Kuznetsov for...
Taylor Hall isn't available anymore.
For Stamkos?
No. Taylor Hall is going to be fucking rammed down the throats of Arizona. He's going to get like 9 shots a game.
Yeah, I think they had trouble shooting last night, but he was definitely noticeable. He was noticeable on the ice, Hall.
Was he?
His first game,
I tried to watch and I fell asleep.
He
like
stripped the puck twice off people. He just fast. He got an assist his first game, so...
And he's going to be hungry, right? He's going to be hungry to make an impact and win. Now, with all this talk that he wants to win, now it's on him to play his best, right? So, like, I expect him to be a top 20 player here on out. I know that might be a little high, but top 20 forward, discounting defensemen, discounting goalies.
All right, we'll see. We'll check back in 60 days, see what he was like at 60 days. Hot take.
Yep.
All right, what else do we need to talk about on Klefboms? What do you want to do? Just like look at the standings?
Well, let's go back to some of the category discussion.
Okay.
I personally like the balance of the goalies versus the skater because you can't have a weak team. You have to have some sort of balance. You can't just have an amazing goalie team clearly, and you can't have just amazing forwards. Like you have to be active and you have to round your team out as nice as possible versus as much competition as possible.
Yeah, and I can see why I lost to Nick last week, and I absolutely destroyed him in points, goals, assists, all that, and lost still. So I can see why, just because there are a lot of goalie categories. Fuck, why can't I go to the actual? Keep trying to... But...
Is it fair to say that save percentage and goals against, regardless of wins and saves, could be anything? Like you could win with a 4 goals against that week, but you could also lose with like a .08. You could match up with the best goalies. You could have 1-2 goaltending stats that week, and you could beat 9 other teams. So like it's a fluke, right? So the way I look at goalies is I don't look at goals against the save percentage. Because you cannot depend on it. You cannot rely on it no matter who your goalies are. Any goalie can have a bad week, a bad start, 2 bad games, whatever.
They only have 2 starts a week, most of them. So if they get lit up 1 start... Yeah. Which you can mask a bad start the more saves you get, obviously, right? Just by pure numbers. So like my strategy is I'll make the handicap or sacrifice of not running as much skaters. But then I'll take my goalie and I'll depend on beating you in wins and saves every week and not losing shutouts. So either tying or winning shutouts just by pure numbers. So that's a 3-2 win. So if I get 3-2 or 2-2-1, I'm 500 on goalies. I can essentially, in the back of my mind, ignore goalies, let them do what they're going to do, and then worry about being active and staying on top of offense. This was part of my strategy to combat a team like yours is to just to use all my ads on goalies mostly.
Yeah.
But if I know part of the discussion is reducing the numbers of ads in 1 week.
That's part of a rule, yep.
So that is going to increase goalie value.
Yep.
By a lot. So that worries me.
Because nobody's going to want to move off a good goalie. And that's part of why I'm considering making it 5 ads minimum, because if you're holding a goalie that is average or is not producing and you're having to drop a forward now to try and get extra starts at the end of the week, it hurts you. So now you got to make decisions regardless, right?
So wait, you're trying to add 5 ads or 5 goalie starts?
5 appearances a week 4 ads per week, 5 minimum appearances.
You need
because right now it's 4.
Do that unless you do 3 goalies slots.
Well, it depends, right? Like, because it is changing the goalies, which is changing everything. So it's hard.
Yeah,
it's hard.
You can't increase the expected amount of appearances and only have 2 goalie spots.
Yeah, if you had like a legit starter where you could be like, hey, this guy's starting 2.5 and that guy's starting 2.5.
To me, it actually made more sense to go the other way to actually make it 3 as opposed to 4. But 4, I think, is a nice.
But then you only run 1 goalie. Like if it was 3, I'd run
yeah.
1 goalie. Yeah.
Well,
and then just be like
starts.
Well, yeah, and spot starts here and there, but that's what I'm afraid of is that like am I not the only team that runs 3 goalies?
Dylan has 3.
And maybe 2 goalies, 1 starter.
He had 3.
Did.
Yeah, he dropped Leonard though. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I knew he had Leonard. Oh no, he's got 3. He's got Murray, Grubauer, and Markstrom. Oh, that's Dylan. Yeah. That changed over to him for some reason. Yeah, so I mean.
But I don't
really like the statement where it's like everyone's just trying to maximize saves, and it's like, really, it's just me.
No, but I think that's not true. And it goes into what you were saying with the goals with the pool of different viable strategies.
Yeah. And that's the thing is if we drop saves, I guarantee you I'll run 1 or 2 goalies, which means I run more forwards, and then now we're all the same. And is that more fun or less fun?
Less fun.
I don't know.
I like having saves. Because it does force people to start their goalies. They can't have fucking 4 lights out games and then just sit and scoop all the categories.
And the other thing too is if you're close on saves, it might make you force you to be like, I got to pick this back up because I want to try and win saves, and then he might get shelled. Or be like, Elliott. I don't like this matchup. Or be like, I really don't want Martin Jones, but like
I need the saves.
Yeah. So like then you could be winning in save percent and goals against, and then all of a sudden get shelled and give it up. So like it creates more drama and stuff, right, into the weekend. So like
I think saves has to stay just for like all those reasons we just said. I'm a big fan of all the stats. Like I think it's very like balanced. The only thing that is questionable is hits, but we've already discussed why, and that's kind of like that's a stat that's kind of going out. And what would you replace hits with though? Like
I wouldn't. And the way that I look at hits is just a bonus category. Like I know that logic is contradictory to why I don't want to make other changes, but it's just simply that's the answer. Is that hits? If I didn't do hits and I didn't do saves, I pretty much guarantee you everyone would pretty much tie every week.
Or whoever wins game-winning goals.
Pretty much, right? So it's just like, or shutouts, or the combination of the two. And then it's just like, at the end of the week, if you've got 7 ties and 11, or if you're like, well, we got 20 weeks. So what would be a good record? Like, I don't know, 9, 4, and 6 or something? 9, 4, and 7. Like, what's the fun in that when the guy behind you has 3 less wins but has like 4 more ties? Like, it's, I don't know. To me, I just like in the foresight of seeing that potentially happen, I had to do something to.
It's actually shocking that we've only had 1 tie this season.
Yeah, I figured to be
pretty
a couple,
sure
but not.
I should have tied Nick, but I threw it away. So.
Yeah, you should have. Yeah, and I was really close to a tie of Joey last week. I think I beat him in game-winning goals by 1 and power play points by 1. Like I think I just squeaked by. It was close to a loss or a tie. Mm-hmm. But like these things, like realistically, it's all offense, and then you add hits. But the hits just make the like. If you only had offense, Matthew Tkachuk and Brady Tkachuk, they're just guys. Mm-hmm. Right? And like, yeah, everyone or all the guys are just guys, but like it's a bonus which makes them more valuable in a draft because they don't quite produce at the same level, but a slightly less producer who helps in hits is just as valuable as a slightly higher producer.
Yeah, and they're also names in their markets as because of this trait of theirs, like it makes them names in the NHL. They kind of are more selling in the NHL, blah blah blah. Do teams go out there and sell the guy, oh, he's the best blocker in the NHL? No one gives a fuck.
No. And like, I mean, it's simply the way hockey's going. I mean, I've listened to a lot of guys talk about, especially like AHL coaches and stuff that are coaching these kids and these new guys through their systems and whatnot. They talk about what I referred to, and just like they teach guys not to sit back and wait for the shot to come to them. They now teach them to go at the guys because they can skate. Most defenders can skate now, right? They can't maybe turn and skate with a guy, but like with the guy, they can keep up with them. So like now it's like these guys are so skilled. If you sit back and fall back, A, you're screening your goalie, but B, guys can snipe from the top of the circle now and almost the blue line now, whether it's a slap shot or snap shot, especially if there's a screen.
Hurdle, prime example yesterday, comes streaking down the right side. Top cheese both times on Kemper in the top. Same spot, same goal. Just
same
easy.
like Eichel's goal.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw Eichel's goal last night.
I didn't see the one last night. He sniped
same
short.
thing.
Yeah, he just keeps sniping.
Was far side, but yeah.
So they can. You're so right. They can just snipe. So
as a defensive coach, why would you coach your players to be like stand back? It's like if you go at these guys and they beat you, well, they beat you. That's good on them, right? Yeah. And like I say that because that's my philosophy when I play. Like, not to sound cocky, but like where I play, I feel like I will get the better end more times than not. So like I challenge guys, I go right at them, and like if you beat me, good job. Next time you won't. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? Like if you beat me 1 out of 10 times, I'm happy with that because to be perfect is not a good expectation, right? So it's just like when I go at guys, it's like beat me, and it's funny because a lot of them are scared. Well, like they basically get the puck in the blue line and then try and dish it off to the first guy they can. Like people are afraid to try and beat me one-on-one. So it's like I never really have to block a shot. I don't wear shoulder pads. I don't wear stuff like that. So like I don't have, and I'm a defenseman. And like if you ask anybody, I get in the way of everything. But like I don't get put in situations necessarily to block shots because I'm not standing manning the house, being between the puck and the net. That's how you get a block shot, right? Simply being between the puck and the net. So, and getting in the way of it. But yes, there's certain guys who are like, I'm not doing that. And that's a difference of belief. And if I'm a coach and I'm in the playoffs, you better believe that you're getting whoever you are on my team, you're getting in front of that shot. If it's the first round, game 1, and it's Matthews, no, I don't want you necessarily getting in that front of the shot. But if it's in the Stanley Cup final, game 5, you better be fucking getting in front of that goddamn shot with your face, with your elbow, with whatever, your ankle, like whatever you possibly can. So like things change when it comes to playoffs. But when we're talking about just an average daily fantasy type game, block shots they're on their way, not out because nothing will be out, but they're on their way down to a level where like plus minus, who talks about plus minus anymore? Nobody does, right? So I mean, it's just going to be like penalty minutes. How many guys are like, look at these guys who contribute but also will punch you in the face? Like there are a couple of them. There's always outliers, but again, Wilson, these guys, they're not premier offensive talents. They can bash goals in, and when other players on their line are good and get the puck to the net, they're going to get a lot of points as a result of that. So I'm not trying to discount that, but they're not going to be the guys that walk through teams or make highlight reel plays all the time or consistently. So it's like there's trade-offs for everything. There's always a trade-off for everything.
Totally.
There's no perfect player. And if there is, they're a video game player or what I refer to as a video game player. And those guys are few and far between.
Yeah.
Like Brent Burns, to me, that's a video game character. He shouldn't be at the NHL level as impactful from the defensive zone when he's on his game as he is. And the statistics, if you're like, oh, I want a guy to combat Burns or to be like, I want him to be on par with Burns, there isn't, and there might not be again because their forwards are getting better. The forwards are getting deeper. There's now almost 3 lines, almost 4 lines on every team of forwards. Defense are basically like, skate up and join the play, but you're the 3rd and 4th guy, right? So like there's not many of these offensive juggernauts, so to speak, or these guys where Carlson puts up 100 points. Like, I mean, I know John Carlson's having a good season, but like each year that we continue to go on, it may be slow over the next 5-7 years, but I think you're going to see way more Roman Yossi's. I know he gets a high block shot, so it's not the best example, but Morgan Riley's, Tyson Barry's, like these guys who skate They can get up on you quick. They can not give you space and time to even shoot, let alone have to get in front of it and block or get hurt. Mm-hmm. And the other thing I said to Nick last night is the natural evolution of the game. How many years ago was it before we introduced these shot blocking equipment? 4-ish seasons?
Not that long, yeah.
Not that long, right? But now it's like with all these numbers and this sports science that we have, we know that with straight physics, the lighter you are, the faster you can go, even if it's a 1% difference, right?
Yeah.
So we've added all these extra things to block these shots and make sure we don't get hurt. Well, why don't we just coach not to block shots and get up, and now we don't have to wear this extra weight and design these extra things to block shots. It's still going to happen. It's still going to be there to an extent. But if you get rid of this, now they can skate faster, which means they can get up on you quicker. There's less time and space. There's less shots happening. Less shots to block. You know what I mean? Like, it's just a natural transition of where it's going. And to add it now, where in 2 years we have to turn around and take it out, maybe it's valuable for 2 seasons. It probably is. But in year 3, and then we change it, and then we go into expansion maybe, and then now it's completely different again. So now year 1 is different from 2, and then 3 is different from 1 and 2, and then now 3 years different. Year 3 is different than 4, and then year 4 is different than 5. So now we have 5 years that are all completely different than each other. Is that going to make people happy? Probably not. We probably need some sort of consistency, right?
Definitely.
So all these factors are things I've already thought of, and I've already gone over. I just don't always know or have the proper solution, right? Mm-hmm. So like sometimes I gotta just, even Nick told me a couple times, unfortunately there will be people that aren't happy. Of course, unfortunately you'll piss people off, but sometimes you just gotta make a decision and go with it.
Well, that's the thing I think too with some of these people that are complaining is they just want to know the answer so that they can, so that they have time to react accordingly, which I think is fair.
Yeah. Yep, and that's fair. And my point originally, and why I don't know if it was noticeable probably, but I just went kind of quiet mode on WhatsApp just because I could have said purple, yellow, left, right, orange, and there was going to be a problem with that, right? So like I was just like, I'm stepping back and I'm not saying anything. I didn't think it was fair to have the expectation that it's like, I want to know now, specifically for Dylan, and it's like, you're one of 10 guys. So like, this isn't all about you, but at the same time, I understand it and I'm taking that into account. And I understand the trade deadline's in February, but the trade freeze is happening right now. So no trades can even happen in real life. So like, I do fully intend and always fully intended on making a decision before the 2020. Mm-hmm. So like, we're closing up on that quick, but I also didn't feel like I had to make a decision before like now. So I was like, fuck off. Give me time to take some opinions, to think on it, to add more thought. Like now that we have new information or I have information to take in, I just didn't have time. I've been busy. I've obviously been frustrated and stressed out and stuff. So it's just like, sometimes it just hasn't been utmost priority. So like, forgive me if I need a day to not think about what you want me to do in fantasy. So.
All right. Sounds good to me, man.
Yeah, I gotta go. I gotta let the dog out. And
sounds good. Dinner. We just hit 2 hours and like 15 minutes, so it's a good time to end it. I'm gonna stop recording.